folks that are embracing for the Coke Zero 400. It's an American celebration.
Get ready to go. 160 laps, fun, build excitement.
Let's not be mistaken. This ain't the 500. It's hotter, it's slicker, and more urgent. It was once called the Firecracker 400, a name that still typifies the action on the track as much as the post-race festivities. The most celebrated driver on the most celebrated weekend goes for a Daytona season sweep. In a more intense version of the first, he and the other 42 will go all out in a 400-mile sprint that will come down to the final shuffle of cars.
NASCAR on TNT, live in Daytona Beach, Florida. It's the 18th race of the year for the Sprint Cup Series. Welcome into our coverage of the Coke Zero 400, powered by Coca-Cola. And a big headline so far this race weekend has been the weather. As we told you earlier, we were expected to go green last night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. That did not work out. Right now, cloudy skies, 83 degrees. Humidity is up, and yes, there is a chance of showers all day long. In the better late than never category, here we are at Daytona, finally ready to race with Kyle Petty and Wally Dallenbach. I'm Adam Alexander. So last night, Wally, we talked about how much this track changes from February to July. This race supposed to be at night. We're going midday. What do we expect here this afternoon?
I don't know. I mean, because, we got here this morning, you and I were talking about it earlier, it was blue skies, and I figured, okay, this place, it's going to be 95 degrees, it's going to be humid, this track is going to be slippery. In the last hour and a half, we've gotten a bunch of cloud cover, so I'm about to talk to Tony Stewart and ask him what he thinks. I would think this track is going to be a little bit slipperier than it would be at night, just because the temperatures, even though it's daytime and it's cloudy, is going to be up. But we're going to find out here in a hurry.
Rain was a factor here on Thursday. 45 minutes of practice time for these guys. Only 25 minutes of qualifying on Friday. Not on track at all yesterday. What's the level of anticipation for these drivers?
I think that it's the anticipation of the unknown, just as Wally said. Really, these guys haven't been on a racetrack since last Thursday, really, when you look at it. Because that Friday qualifying session was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. Spent a lot of time running about 120 miles an hour out here. So the racetrack is going to be slicker, obviously, because it's daytime, but the practice that they had, it wasn't a great practice. So these guys are basically, it's unload, let's draw a peel, start where we're going to race, and let's go race.
It's going to be entertaining any way you look at it. Now some other headlines from the weekend. We go shore to shore with Joe's Crab Shack. And this weekend, Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to become the 6th driver ever to sweep the 500 and the 400 in the same season. And Kyle talked about qualifying. Big time surprise. David Gilliland on the pole for the 3rd time in his career. Joining him on the front row, Reed Sorensen. We did have an upset here on Friday, and as we all know, doesn't matter where you start, what your number is, what team you're affiliated with. If you're in it at Daytona, you have a chance to win it. And now we look at our Coke Zero starting grid for 160 laps here at Daytona. We talked about David Gilliland on the front row with Reed Sorensen. Both these drivers looking for their first career victory today. In fact, if you go to row 2, Landon Castle is there. He, too, is looking for his first career win, starting alongside the 2000 champion, Bobby Labonte. In row 3, a couple of drivers that no doubt can get it done. Jimmy Johnson, who swept here a year ago, and Matt Kenseth, who has won twice in the Daytona 500. Tony Stewart has been so good in the summer race at Daytona. He's won this event 4 times. He starts 12th today, Wally.
Hey, Tony Stewart, this is Wally D in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, ma'am.
All right, man, you've got 19 Daytona wins, second only to Earnhardt. And, we've been kind of talking about it all day, and we got here this morning. It was blue skies. It looked like it was going to be hot. It's cloudy now. We possibly have some weather coming. I mean, what kind of strategy do you have, if you have any? Or do you just take it as it comes?
Yeah, I wish you could say you had a strategy. I think all of us think we have a strategy, and then that all goes away as soon as they drop the green flag. So, biggest thing, we're still, looks like we're going to be fighting weather today, and we got to get to the halfway point. So it's just be smart here at the beginning. If we can stay up front, we want to stay up front. But if we get shuffled to the back for whatever reason, just not panic with it. So we'll just take it a lap at a time and see what we can get.
Well, good luck, man. Get that bass in victory lane today.
Yeah, we got our buddies with Ducks Unlimited with us, so we want to get them in victory lane if we can with Bass Pro Shops. So see what we can do.
We wish Tony the best as he goes for his 5th win in the summertime here at the World Center of Racing. And as you continue to look at our starting grid, you will notice some pretty big names deep in the field. Clint Boyer's there, no stranger to success when it comes to plate racing. Jamie McMurray has won here twice alongside his teammate Kyle Larson in row 18. Terry Labonte, a 2-time champion, sitting next to Denny Hamlin, who won the last time we went restrictor plate racing at Talladega. Busch brothers in row 20. Kurt Busch, 54 career starts on plate tracks. He's yet to go to victory lane. Before we go green, let's make a trip down the pit lane. We start things off with Marty Snyder. Hello, Marty.
Hello, Adam. The big question in the garage area this morning, what you guys just talked about. How will today's 83-degree weather affect cars that were set up for last night? I talked to Jimmy Johnson about that moments ago. He told me, I think the race is going to string out a little bit. I think track position is going to be a critical thing. Handling will also be very big. He said, what I'm happy about, we start up front. A lot of those guys in the back, those big names you mentioned, Adam, will be in a hurry with a sense of urgency to get to the front if they can. Chris Neville.
Marty, when you think restrictor plate racing, you think cars with low downforce, low drag. Well, crew chief on the 15, Brian Patty, he gambled this week and brought a car that has more downforce. Now that we're racing in the heat of the day, track temps around 115 degrees, that gamble might pay off. Ralph Shaheen?
Casey King got his 8th career nationwide win on Friday. He still needs one here in the Sprint Cup garage. Now, his crew chief, Kenny Francis, tells me he doesn't think that he really learned anything Friday night that should transfer over to today, although he'll take the momentum. What he's concerned about are the tires. How will they last out on the racetrack? Will they have enough grip? And Matt, the other area he's concerned about is airflow. Will that small grill opening at the front of the car allow it to breathe?
Ralph, 10 different drivers already locked into the chase, and today's 400-miler a wild card for a number of drivers sprinkled throughout the field because it's a plate race. Look at David Gilliland and also his teammate David Reagan. Now, David Reagan, 2 restrictor plate wins, the last coming at Talladega with the help of his teammate. And Larry Mack, these guys could definitely lock in a great spot in the chase. And by the way, you're looking mighty sporty today wearing those Florida State colors, garnet.
Yeah, I hear you, Matt. But what I want to do, I want to touch on something Ralph Shaheen mentioned with our Toyota Camry test car. Talked about the grill opening. NASCAR at Daytona and Talladega, they mandate this grill opening that lets the air go to cool the radiator at 23 inches wide by 1 3/4 inches tall. The reason they do this is to discourage a driver from just getting against another driver and pushing them around. This grill opening was fine for racing at night when the track temp is a little cool, but there's a lot of concern in the garage area, Adam. Is this enough opening in the heat of the day?
Larry, big time question marks for all these teams because as we pointed out several times, this race going off midday when it was scheduled to go off yesterday evening. 1 lap to go before we go green. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear today. Everything we learn making tires that face the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Now our race analysis for the Coke Zero 400 powered by Coca-Cola. 160 laps making up the 400 miles. Pit road speed 55 miles per hour. You see the pit window 38 to 44 laps. And going to the rear making some adjustments, Ryan Truex. And surprised we didn't see more guys in that category. This is an impound race. After you finish qualifying on Friday, you're not allowed to touch the cars, and here we are almost 48 hours later going green.
But we've got a competition caution coming up.
At lap 20.
At lap 20. So I think a lot of these guys are thinking, listen, if I got to make an adjustment or try to adapt to these changes, do it during that stop.
Seen so many patriotic paint schemes this weekend, which is really cool as we celebrate our nation's independence. And in honor of America's independence, Farmers Insurance has joined forces with GI Jobs to celebrate our nation's military with their special patriotic paint scheme here at Daytona. You know, the last time this race was run in the afternoon, the July 4th event, 1997. That's when they had last run here before they put the lights in. There are 4 drivers that were in that race that are competing here today. The Labanis, Terry and Bobby, Jeff Gordon and Michael Waltrip going to victory lane, 1997, 4th of July weekend. John Andretti, one of his 2 career victories. And the lights are back on the pace car. They've added a lap once again, so the drama continues to build here at Daytona. We talk about 4th of July weekend, and the drivers understand the importance and embrace coming to Daytona for this very special event.
It's always cool to race on July 4th. Being here in Daytona has always had a special place. Who doesn't love Daytona?
Well, racing on July 4th weekend, I think, is kind of one of the truly Americana things about NASCAR.
4th of July, to me, is my favorite holiday, but it's America's birthday.
To be able to take a step back, even if it's just for a minute before the race, and listen to the national anthem on the 4th of July and understand that we're very fortunate that we get to live our dreams.
To race on and around Independence Day has always carried a lot of meaning because of the significance of the day and what it means to this great country.
Plenty of red, white, and blue around Daytona on this holiday weekend, and some 15 hours after we were expected to get the green flag. Hopefully we will put it in the air soon. Did get a report there are some sprinkles around the track, and it's unbelievable how quickly the weather changes here in Central Florida. We were qualifying here on Friday afternoon for the Nationwide Series, and they were actually out with about 8 minutes to go in their qualifying session. You had a group of cars screaming down the back straightaway, cloudburst, skies opened up, and a number of drivers actually getting involved in an accident because of a rain shower that only covered up half of the back straightaway. And when it came to Sprint Cup qualifying, as we told you earlier, had a big upset. David Gilliland getting the 3rd career pole on Friday afternoon. This is what he said to his team.
Well, thank you guys very much, man. You guys obviously prepared a very fast race car, and I'm excited to be driving it. You know, you guys are why this thing's up here right now. So appreciate it. Let's have good stops all day. This is a weekend that we have a really good chance, and we feel really good about it. So thank you for everything, and Frank, everybody, man. Appreciate it. Put on a good show here.
Added pressure when you start on the front row and pull a little bit of an upset in qualifying?
Yeah, I think it is, because I think he just said it right there. This is a weekend that we have a good shot. When you have 1 or 2 shots at it a year, there is that added pressure. You know, that's not a Hendrick organization or a Gibbs organization that goes to the race week in and week out thinking they're going to sit on the pole and win a race. So, and we saw these guys. You know, we saw David Gilliland push David Reagan to the win at Talladega. So this is a team that can run the restrictor plates and can run up front.
Well, and they have talked about that win a year ago at Talladega that you referred to, and how that has energized their entire race team. And they know when it comes to plate racing, the draft is the equalizer. They have a chance. And so everybody a little extra upbeat, and the payoff for them already this weekend coming in the form of a pole for David Gilliland and teammate David Reagan also starting inside the top 10. So after a couple of extra laps, we are now getting the 1 to go signal as the field comes across the start-finish line.
Spotters are going to be important, and not only when we talk today, and you talked about it during about nationwide practice and nationwide qualifying, excuse me. When you're in turn 4, when this pack's in turn 4, you're about a half a mile away from turn 2 over there. Probably a little bit more than that. And when the rain comes in, you depend on these spotters, the NASCAR spotters, to say the racetrack's wet in 2, back her down, and get slowed down and relay that message to the spotters on top of the tower here to relay it to the drivers, so we don't have the incident that we had like we did in the Nationwide Series.
And there you see the spotters that will play such a huge role here today. Fans, log on to NASCAR.com to experience Tony Stewart's pit camera on Race Buddy, presented by Mobile One, with 10 camera views, live chats, and special reports from the pits. Race Buddy on NASCAR.com gives you the most robust race day experience. About a half a lap away from going green in our 400-mile event here at Daytona. Quick check of the radar. few cells building, but right now no rain at the track. And the radar looks far better right now than it did yesterday evening when we were trying to get this thing in, as we said, scheduled to go green around 8 p.m. Eastern. So forever, this race, the Midsummer Classic, the Firecracker 400, was run on July 4th, regardless of what day the 4th of July fell on. Then in 1988, they always started running it the Saturday closest to July 4th. 1998, they moved the event under the lights for the first time ever at Daytona. Only problem was we had the wildfires in Central Florida, so that event actually postponed until October. Every year since then, the event has been run on Saturday evening until here in 2014, Mother Nature dampening our plans last night, and so therefore we will race on a Sunday afternoon. 15 hours behind, but finally we are ready for the green flag in the Midsummer Classic. It's the Coke Zero 400, powered by Coca-Cola. David Gilliland, Reed Sorensen leading them to the green in front of a great crowd here at the World Center of Racing. Green flag is out, and we are underway at Daytona.
That's a beautiful sight.
Yes, it is. Beautiful sound, too.
Inside lane, Jimmy Johnson trying to make it happen around Landon Castle. That 40 car sliding back on the outside. Gilliland out front. Reed Sorensen tucks in behind, and they pair up 2 by 2. In some situations, 3 wide as they come off turn 4 for the first time.
We saw that in the nationwide race. It looked like that inside line was the place to be. It was really hard for that outside line to pull unless you had a bunch of cars, and that's why early on these restarts or the start of the race, it looks like it's fairly even, although a little bit of an advantage to the inside.
Yeah, we got the group out there on the outside trying to make a third lane work right now.
Bobby Labonte in that 33 car. Only one other start this year was the first guy in line in that third lane that Kyle referred to. Jimmy Johnson third in line in the bottom groove behind Reed Sorensen and David Gilliland. Outside of him, Matt Kenseth.
And I'm going to tell you something. David Gilliland's doing, as we watched from inside Kyle Busch's car at the front of the pack, has done a really good job of being in the inside line and then pulling up and bringing that outside line up to the inside line and then dropping back to the inside line. Just keeping those 2 lines equal just by helping one at a time.
Everybody being pretty patient right now. It'll be interesting to watch how patient they are throughout the day, knowing that weather could be on the way. We heard Tony Stewart talk about that earlier. And as Gilliland jumps to that outside lane, you see Reed Sorensen pulling that inside lane around. He's got Jimmy Johnson behind him.
Now watch him go back to the bottom. He just goes back to the bottom to block that bottom and pull that inside line up equal to the outside.
But as soon as, if you saw when he came on the straightaway, he went to the wall, which actually helped that third lane. That third lane pulled up like 2 or 3 cars. I'm not sure you want to help everybody behind you right now.
I think he's just trying to keep everybody behind him side by side.
He's going to lose that bottom lane if he doesn't be careful. And I don't think you want to lose that bottom lane right now.
No.
Which brings me to, as a driver in this race, how much you're looking out the front of your car versus using the rearview mirror.
Well, he certainly is. And he's got that spotter giving him a lot of information right now, too, on where he should be.
20 car looks anxious to get to the front, Marty. He's in that outside lane.
And certainly Adam anxious to get a win here in 2014. He pushes it to the front around David Gilliland for at least a moment. And I was talking to Matt Kenseth before the race. He said, that's really the formula Dale Earnhardt Jr. used to win the Daytona 500. You would see him in the corners. He would run the bottom of the racetrack as Kenseth goes to the lead. And then when he would go on the straightaways, just like Wally mentioned, he would go all the way to the wall. But as Matt told me, when you're the leader, you can dictate who you go with. And you can really dictate this race. So you want to be out front here at Daytona because it's your race to be in control of.
And Matt Kenseth, Marty, when you look at the last 10 restrictor plate races, he's led over 500 laps. That's more than anyone else. And if you go back to 2012 when he was driving for Jack Roush, he won 2 races that year at the plate tracks, 2 of the 4. The other 2 events he finished 3rd. In the latter stages of his career, Matt Kenseth has gotten really good at this style of racing.
And he did exactly what Marty had talked about Dale Jr. did, and David Gilliland had done exactly the same thing that Dale Jr. did. Just controlled the pack behind him.
And the caution is out for the first time today. And unfortunately, it's for some sprinkles that we've got here at Daytona International Speedway. So once again, Mother Nature rearing her ugly head. No cars had fallen a lap down this early in the race. Completing 6 laps right here, so no drivers going to receive the free pass. Make sure to share a Coke Zero this summer and use the hashtag #ShareACoke to post your bottles. Visit NASCAR.com to make a virtual bottle with your name on it. Off and rolling in the 400-miler at Daytona, Matt Kenseth, the race leader, 6 of 160 laps complete. Back live in Daytona as we take a look at our fresh from Florida race recap. Supposed to go racing last night. It's a tradition in NASCAR, the Saturday evening of 4th of July weekend, but not just rain, lightning, so we were pushed back to today. Went green just after 11 a.m. Eastern time. David Gilliland trying to capitalize on his 3rd career pole. He led the first 4 laps, then at lap 5, Matt Kenseth took over the top spot. The 2-time winner of the Daytona 500 has led the last 6 circuits. Then the skies opened up once again, in particular over in turn 2. NASCAR put out the caution flag, and now we get the red. The cars have pulled down pit road. We're in a holding pattern once again at Daytona. Further updates when we return after a break on TNT.
Hey, think of all that we could do if we started with me and you. And I'll keep coming back around. Wait a while and then you see I'll keep coming back around. I'll keep coming back around.
We don't sit idle wondering how we're going to build a better truck. We get out there and walk a mile, thousands of miles, in the footsteps of the guys we build trucks for. The groundbreaking Ram Heavy Duty with 30,000 pounds of towing and 850 pound-feet of torque.
Before the fans go in, before the drivers go in, before the championships go in, before Mobil 1 synthetic motor oil goes into these cars, we put the energy and science into perfecting it. Energy lives here. Mobil 1.
It's KFC game night. Dinner at the table is approaching, I think, something like 12 minutes. Thanks to 12 extra crispy tenders, 4 dipping sauces, 2 sides, and biscuits.
And a free I Spy game right on the bucket.
I kind of want to do this every Friday.
What does 3,000 rotations a minute look like?
Welcome back to NASCAR on TNT. It is the Coke Zero 400 powered by Coca-Cola. Well, we got 10 laps in, and the rain has hit us once again. But the good news is it's not raining right now. We just had a brief shower pass through that hit us over in turns 1 and 2. You look back to the west, everything looks pretty optimistic in that regard. And this is what we were talking about earlier, Kyle, how this place is so massive, you can get hit with a little shower that dampens one portion of the racetrack and everything else is fine. We should dry this up fairly quickly.
Yeah, and like I said, that's why the track and spotters. We talk about the spotters that spot for the teams, but NASCAR has spotters all around the racetrack, always looking for debris, always looking for something. And like I said, you can come off turn 2 at 190-plus miles an hour, and it's pouring down, or excuse me, come off turn 4, and it's raining over in turn 2. And we saw that in the nationwide qualifying where it was wet on the backside of the racetrack, and they just run in the middle of a storm.
Let's go down to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, it's a good opportunity to get caught up with the crew chiefs. Are you hearing anything? Have you learned anything from what Casey Kane's been able to tell you?
Not really yet. You know, so far the car seemed pretty good. We were right there kind of in the middle of the 3-wide thing for a while, and he said it seemed okay so far. You know, it's a little bit early to tell yet, but you know, so far so good. It's been a long time since we've run a day race, you know, in the summer here, so I think everyone's kind of wondering how it's going to react and what's going to happen. But you know, hopefully these pop-up showers will let up. Looks like we've got a little bit of a window. Maybe we can get back going again here soon.
All right, Matt, that's the thoughts of Kenny Francis.
Ralph Dale Earnhardt Jr. looking for the sweep here at Daytona in 2014. So, Junior, only 10 laps on the board. Did you have a chance to get a good feel how this car is in the daytime conditions versus what you'd expected of racing at night?
No, we ain't really got to open the car up yet. Boxed in there behind Jimmy. We was sitting there running half throttle, so we'll just have to hopefully get things thinned out a little bit where we get moving around and trying to change lanes and see them, you know, going where we want to go. You really can't move around with a guy on the outside if you don't want to run him in the fence, or if they're 3 wide or whatever. You kind of got to give everybody their due. But maybe once tires get a little warm, I don't know if handling's going to be a problem or not, or start to settle the field out. But we got a lot to learn, and we try to learn what we can. We get going.
I don't know any driver in the field that's more passionate about the sport's past and the history of the drivers that used to drive all those historic cars. You finally got your 4th of July race during the day here at Daytona.
Yeah, it's pretty warm, but this is definitely just like the old days. I remember coming down here as a kid and watching and wondering how they did it in the heat, because I know their cars were a lot worse than ours are. We're pretty pampered with all the technology we got to keep ourselves comfortable in the cars, so I can imagine what it was like years ago in those race cars, but even up into the 90s. But we had some hot Saturdays here in July for sure, and a lot of tough dudes out here racing around back then.
All right, thank you, Jim.
Yep.
Marty?
Matt, I'm kind of half scared to interrupt this conversation because I don't know what's going on. Hey, that was a fun 5 laps, wasn't it, Kevin Harvick?
Really wasn't anything fun about it, to tell you the truth.
I was kidding.
Yeah, you want to get going and you want to just keep going. So first 5 laps is good to get everything shook out, and then we got to stop again. So surprise rain over there.
We got anything good on Boyer right now, or what?
I mean, just look at him. He's got that smile on his face, like he's getting ready to do something wrong, and probably has already done something wrong. So
have you done anything wrong today, Boyer?
Yeah. So far, I'm racing for last with Kyle. I put a good block on him back there playing around, but it is just like Kevin said. It's so hard to get yourself wound up, last night, and then no way we're going to get it in, and then we get wound up again this morning, and it rains 5 laps into it. It's just it's just like those fans. I mean, look, it was still a packed house today, which is awesome to see. How loyal our fans are, and we'll get this thing in and put a hell of a show on for them sooner or later.
We'll hopefully get racing here in a few minutes, but is everybody just being very cautious here because the rain was off and on?
No.
What was that, Harvick?
They were 3 wide, 10 deep. That's
a little more aggressive than they should have been.
Cautious from watching.
No, he was saying he's racing for last, so I just was clarifying why he was racing for last.
Because they were racing for first 3 wide and the rain coming. I was like, have at her, boys. Watch this.
All right, boys, they're back here having fun and racing for last, Chris Neville.
Well, Marty, one guy who's definitely wound up and not racing for last, Jamie Max started 36 because of the unusual qualifying we had, but already up to 22nd, so your one car working pretty well.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about our Cessna Chevy. I got on the outside lane and made up some ground, but once they get 3 wide, you're just committed to riding there until someone makes a move, and it's hard to do unless a gap opens up. And felt pretty good about it. It's hard to judge how fast your car is really until you get to the front and how well you can stay there. But it sucks up really good when I get back from a guy. So I feel good about it. I hope that this dries out. We were talking at break. It's so weird that it's completely dry right here, and it was soaking wet in turn 2. So the weather here has just been horrible for racing.
Your car pretty good, but can you judge the other cars around you? Can you see what's going on with those guys after 5 laps?
Well, you can when you get to the front. I remember this race last year, I ran up front most of the race, and the 48 car was clearly the best car. He could get to the lead really. It looked easily. It's hard to tell when you get in the back, but I'm just kind of judging mine based on if I get a car length or 2 back, how quick I can suck up to the guy in front of me, which is a really good sign.
Well, Jamie Mack, I think he's got a fast car today. Matt?
Front row cars are looking very stout as well, Chris. And David Reagan, your team going with the Kevin Harvick strategy. Try to stay top 12, especially with 40 to go.
Harvick's won a lot of these plate races, so that's not a bad strategy. Our Farm Rich Ford is pretty fast. It drives good. It's good to have a teammate up toward the front. And, yeah, I mean, a 400-mile race here at Daytona goes by pretty quick. So, yeah, we want to stay towards that top 12, top 14, top 15. And, if you can see the lead cars, you can always be in position to make something happen. So, it's good to have good speed. It's good to be up here this early. So, hopefully these little, I wouldn't even call them rain showers. They're just a little mist. We'll get out of here soon. It won't take but a second to clean the track down there and get ready to go racing.
I remember back in 1984, the July race, your dad on this TV panel had Reagan for Reagan. Conditions a lot like it was for the old days here at Daytona. When do you expect you'll get a good feel for your race car in these conditions?
Yeah, it is a little hot and slick, and even though we have some cloud cover, just the asphalt temperature is a lot warmer than we'd have at night. So probably 20, 25 laps into a fuel run, you finally get some age on those tires. We'll have a competition caution coming up just to check the tire wear, but I think not into a full fuel run will you really see some guys, having to pedal it a little bit, maybe trail brake some if their car doesn't handle as well. But I definitely think you'll see some guys adjusting on their cars and working on them some. So hopefully we can be ahead of all those changes and be ready for the end.
At least you remember the pictures from that day, huh?
Yeah, I wasn't quite old enough, but I have seen the pictures. It did happen. So all the families back home, we'll see you soon. My wife and my little girls back home. I wish they were down here, but appreciate you guys letting all these crew guys and crew chiefs and TV personalities hang out and go racing today.
Sun's out, not raining, Adam. Looking good down here.
One thing I wonder, Kyle, if it's going to be at 20, they're going to run probably 3 or 4 laps under yellow.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to get a really good feel on tire wear if they still throw that competition caution at lap 20, because they won't have 20 hard laps on them.
It'll be interesting to see if they adjust it. And we've seen NASCAR adjust that because they have a caution before the competition caution. So it'll be interesting to see that.
I want to go back to what we were talking about earlier, nationwide qualifying here on Friday. We had about 8 minutes to go in round 1, and this is what happened over on the back straightaway, Kyle.
And look at this. This is time lapse, but see as it's getting darker here. And these guys, you
saw them wrecking down there toward turn 3.
Yes, but you see them come off the corner here. The first cars are throwing up a rooster tail. These guys just are running in water right here. Look at how quickly they run into a wet racetrack. And that's what we heard Jamie McMurray say. It's dry here on the front stretch, and it's soaking wet on the back stretch. Caught these guys so off guard, and that's the way the weather has been down here all week. You heard him say, it's not really raining, it's just these pop-up showers. And at a racetrack this big, a facility this big, again, and I know I've beat this horse to death, you can be on one end in the sunshine, and on the other end, there's a thunderstorm going on.
David Gilliland, the beneficiary of only one round of qualifying for Sprint Cup teams on Friday, and so far not too bad. He's second. He's led the first 4 laps of the race. How they feeling about it, Ralph?
Well, they're pretty excited, especially considering that's a former backup car that he's doing all that in. Okay, tell me a little bit about what it was like at the front of the field beginning of that show.
It was good. I think our old Love's Travel Stop Ford looked good up there. So I'm really, really comfortable with the car. The car's driving really good, has really good speed. I wasn't sure how it was going to be out in front, but has really good speed up there, and hopefully we can stay there. I think track position is important. We've always said in the past that the Speedway stuff, it really didn't matter, but for some reason with this style of racing, it's kind of gone back to track position's important, and so especially with the weather in there, you never know. So it looked busy behind me. I know that. I looked up in my mirror and there were 3 wide coming, but anyway, it's a lot of fun. I love this style of racing, and our car is really good. So maybe the camouflage paint job will help him not see me up there and keep me up there.
Well, that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about, because Kyle and Wally were talking about how you were changing from lane to lane, watching the guys behind you, picking where you were going. What was going through your mind? How are you setting that up?
Oh, just as the lanes get a run, you always want to try and slow the one lane down and try and get the other one, slow them down, keep them behind you, because being the front car is not always the best situation. You always obviously want to be in a group and nose to tail, and that's what makes the most speed. So Matt Kenseth is the best at it I've ever seen, and so he's in front of us now. We'll watch, take a couple notes, and hopefully be there at the end.
All right, he's ready to go, Marty.
A chat with Brad Keselowski, Ralph, and you were saying 6 laps in there, handling just starting to become a factor, wasn't it?
A little bit, yeah. I'm trying to be optimistic. Got my gargoyles on here, thinking it's going to rain.
It's sunny, look.
Stay sunny and not going to rain, but I can take them off and still see you, so that's not the most brightest it can be. But, no, I think the race is just starting to take shape, and it's a shame the yellow came out, but looking forward to getting back going with the Lions Truck Parts Ford. The car's really strong. We were kind of a little bit ahead of the curve. We're thinking it was going to rain yesterday and put more of a hand-run package in it, and so far it's worked. We've drove up a little bit through the field from a poor starting spot, and I think we've got one of the cars to beat.
I would say let's ask Wally and Kyle for some champagne bottle opening tips. I don't know, they have much experience either. So, that was a shot, wasn't it? What happened last week? Explain to us the process.
I just want to hear what Wally and Kyle have to say about that.
You guys have any comment on that or not?
No. Considering the source, not really, no.
They said considering the source, no comment on that. Yeah. What happened, dude, when you're opening the champagne bottle?
Well, champagne is not as easy to open as you think it is, and in Victory Lane you don't get like a corkscrew or any of that stuff, which you shouldn't need one. So I thought I was going to be cool and open it off of the podium, and just hit it. You ever seen those people with swords?
Oh yeah.
They hit it off the top and it just pops everywhere, instead of being that guy that's always doing this and trying to get it open. And so I was trying to be too cool for school and let that be a lesson. And when I went to hit it, the whole bottle just broke. And cut a big gash in my hand, so my bad.
Well, we're happy to say the stitches are out, correct? They've now glued the wound together.
Yeah, they glued me together. I feel like a puppet that somebody broke. And hopefully I can be all right. So far, so good, so I think we'll be all right the race, but like I said in Victory Lane, let that be a lesson. You should always stick to beer.
And it does not affect him inside the race car. That's a good lesson. Stick to beer, Chris Neville.
And Marty, Carl Edwards, Greg Biffle, Trevor Brain, they've been hanging out for about 5-10 minutes down here. And Carl, what are you guys strategizing?
I was just thinking I need to get a hold of Jim Cantori or somebody to come help us figure out what's going on here. It appears that the track's dry, but there's just there's storms kind of all over. So that was a fun first few laps. We got to race a little bit. Looks like we're all kind of, Ricky ran off. I don't know where he went, but we're all a little jealous of him and how well he was running the top. So I think when they drop the green again, you're going to see guys moving up to that second lane, 3-4 wide. I mean, everybody seems to be having a pretty good time.
Now, when you guys are talking amongst yourselves here, are you just kind of going over what your car's doing and where you think things are going to go?
Yeah, we were talking about how everybody's lined up, who we want to follow, what different guys were doing. Everybody was trying to figure out exactly how Matt Kenseth got to the front so well. We're all going to try to do that. And, just kind of a neat time to get to talk, too. It kind of feels like a Saturday night short track race. You get to hang around and talk with all the drivers before you get in the cars, and that's pretty fun.
And this is another good weekend, hopefully, for you guys. I know the intermediate program struggled a little bit, but here we are, restrictor plate racing, so you guys really have a shot at this thing.
Yeah, the Fords have been really good, specifically our Roush Fenway Fords at these Speedway races. So it's a chance for us to get a win, and I guess we get to go try right now.
All right, have fun. Adam.
All right, thank you, Chris. And as you say goodbye to Carl Edwards, he walks over to his car, climbing on board. NASCAR has called the drivers back to their machines. That is a good sign. Hopefully it won't be long before we are back racing here at Daytona. Only got 10 laps in to the 160 that make up today's Coke Zero 400. Once again, we had some rain showers over turns 1 and 2, but they're drying the track, and as we said, we'll be back green in a matter of moments. So I want to go back in time. 30 years ago this weekend, 4th of July, 1984, The final win of Richard Petty's career, the 200th. Of course, Ronald Reagan was here that day. The car now in the Smithsonian. We look back at that day, and Kyle, I'm sure you've got some remarkable stories of what this meant not only to you but your family.
No, I think to our family it meant a ton. You know, obviously we didn't own this car. This was not a Petty Enterprise car. It was a Mike Curb car. A Robert Yates built engine, but you know, it came down to that last lap and they were racing back to the caution. And it was just great racing. But to have a sitting president here was really big. I think, you know, Bill France Sr. was there, Bill France Jr. There were so many dignitaries here and there. They had a cookout in the garage area when the thing was over with. Serve Kentucky Fried Chicken. What else would you serve to the President of the United States except a bucket of chicken and some Coca-Cola? So that was a big deal. But I think it was huge for the sport to have a sitting president come here and to have the king win his race. It's like I said the other day. I said, you had a king, you had the president, and you had a day that will live in the history of this sport forever.
And it will, and it's one that we remember fondly. And if you look over our shoulder, you see the back straightaway grandstands. They were not there in 1984. Ronald Reagan gave the command to fire engines from Air Force One, and then he landed over on the back straightaway. And there's this great picture of your dad going down the back straightaway, and you can see Air Force One landing.
Yeah, and that's fate that day. You know, when all that stuff just comes together. But that photo hangs in the King's house, and it's a pretty special picture for him to see that red, white, and blue STP Pontiac running down the backstretch and Air Force One landing right over it.
You said earlier that this track has changed a little bit over the years, and it changes a lot from February to July. We found out firsthand with Wally on track in our Toyota Camry test car. It happened here between rain showers on Friday afternoon. Take a look.
Welcome to Daytona Speedway in my Toyota Camry test car. Kyle Petty was supposed to take this lap, but he missed his flight. So, oh darn, I've got to do it. Daytona Speedway is one of the coolest racetracks in the world. If you're a race car driver or want to be a race car driver, this is the place you want to get some laps at. Here we are across the start-finish line. One thing I've noticed already is how much smoother this racetrack is when I last drove here. Now this race is much different than the race in February because the track is greasier. So your cars are going to slide around a lot more after you get some wear on the tires and you burn off your fuel. If you want to run the high line, you can run the high line. It used to be really, really bumpy up here, and this part of the track used to be really tricky, but it's really nice to drive. Brett Bodine, my buddy, 70 miles per hour. That's what you drive on the highway. That is the difference right there, how much faster we are going at Daytona Speedway.
And I would say our test session pretty much went as planned, with the exception of one little wrinkle there.
It didn't go as planned because I didn't show up. Wally had to come off the fishing boat to do it.
Actually, this was planned. When I went down there prior to the run, I saw this camera hanging there, and I looked at those guys and I said, I'm going to knock that camera off, and they all laughed at me. Well, I knocked it off. I really wanted to I wanted it to knock it off and save the card. But I lost my.
We couldn't find the card.
I lost my touch. I hit it a little bit too hard.
Oh, it looks good though, man. That looks good.
That thing was hanging out there about 4 inches, and I told them, I said, that thing's coming off, guys.
And we can't say a big enough thank you to all those that help us each week to make sure our Toyota Camry test car makes it to the track. Last night, Larry Mack and the guys doing a pit stop. You guys have been on track each and every week. I mean, this has really been a huge asset for our NASCAR on TNT coverage.
It has, and especially Larry. Larry has been a huge part of making this car right for Kyle and I to drive this thing. I mean, you know, they could have just thrown it out there with the wrong gear and the wrong springs and just said, hey, go at it 50 or 60%. But Larry has done a really good job keeping on top of them and making sure they got everything right in that.
I'm looking over toward turn 2, and I see all the jet dryers making their way back toward the infield. That's a good sign. In fact, some of the members of the Air Titan Brigade have already taken their machines back onto the road course here on the infield at Daytona International Speedway, as you saw a moment ago. And here we see it again. Drivers back in their cars. Helmets are on. Gloves are on. And so it's just about time to put the cars back on track and do what they came here to do. That is compete at the World Center of Racing. So if you're just joining us on this 4th of July weekend and you said, why in the world Are we having a race on Sunday? Well, here's the story. Mother Nature has been messing with us since we got here on Thursday. Practice cut in half Thursday afternoon, qualifying shortened on Friday, and we never even fired an engine here last night. Rain showers moved into Central Florida sometime around 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Never let up. NASCAR did everything they could with the track to try and dry this facility so we could go racing, but the radar was too strong. So about 9 o'clock Eastern last night, NASCAR said we're going to come back, run this race on Sunday, and just as we were getting ready to go green today, a little thunder shower popped up, sprinkled over in turns 2. We've completed 10 laps, and now we are set to lift the red flag and go racing once again. And I guess if you want to be a real optimist, you should say today we've been lucky, because our red flag's probably going to end up being, 15, 20 minutes, something like that. They had a red flag of 6 hours and 22 minutes here during the Daytona 500 in February.
Hear this sound?
You knocking on your head?
On wood.
Yeah.
Let's hope it's all behind us. But, with the sun out now, it's a lot brighter right now than it was when we took the green flag. And this track will get so much hotter if that sun stays out, which means it'll be a lot more greasier. Be slick.
The plan with all the overnight rain was to have a competition caution at lap 20. NASCAR obviously not anticipating that we would be slowed this early in the event. We've not gotten an update from them, so we continue to anticipate that we will get another caution at lap 20 for the drivers to come down pit road, check over tire wear, and remembering that this is an impound race. These guys have not adjusted on their car since qualifying on Friday, or nothing major, which can create some anxiety for these teams as well.
You know what? If they would have adjusted on it, they would have adjusted wrong. Looking at it right now, like I said, it got cloudy, and it was a lot cooler the start of this race than it is right now. They're going to be chasing adjustments on these cars all day with these conditions being the way they are. Sunny 1 minute, cloudy the next.
Engines have refired. You heard them as Wally and I were talking. Pace car sitting down at the front end of pit road. We'll pull them off. We'll get probably a lap or two under caution before we go back to green. David Gilliland started on the pole, led the first 4 laps, and then Matt Kenseth took over and led the last 6 prior to the caution coming out for rain. And you look at Matt Kenseth, and you come to a racetrack like Daytona where anybody can win, but Matt Kenseth is a guy that desperately needs a victory because he has not won this season, and as we all know, under this new format, pretty much a win means you're going to be in the playoffs in September. The red flag has been lifted after 26 minutes. Back under caution. The cars are rolling off. We return after a break on TNT. Back at the Daytona International Speedway, just about set to go back green in the Coke Zero 400, powered by Coca-Cola. Cars are making their way down the back straightaway. Let's send it to Larry McReynolds.
Well, Adam, you've heard all these interviews talking about handling, talking about downforce. One thing, the rules at Daytona and Talladega, it takes downforce away from the cars. It starts up here with the front splitter. You can see how this is cut out. There's no front splitter extending beyond the nose, plus there's no pan. That's a lot less front downforce than we had last weekend at Kentucky or next week at Loudon. But the big ticket item is back here at the rear spoiler. This rear spoiler is only 4.5 inches tall. It's the same width, the same degrees we run everywhere else, but 3.5 inches shorter. That's a lot less rear downforce, and Adam, it's getting a lot warmer out here, and I think that lack of downforce, I know it's the same for everybody, it's going to be huge as we go back racing.
I agree with that. I think if this sun stays out and the temperatures come up, these guys are going to have their hands full.
We've always talked about the importance of handling in the July race, where Daytona in February all about speed.
Well, I think on a day like today, a lot of guys will ride and try to ride it. I think you want to be up front because that's where your car is going to be the best.
Matt Kenseth, race leader, chooses the outside lane for the restart. David Reagan started 8th, worked his way up to 4th. He was right behind Kenseth there in that outside lane as we go back green, completing lap 12.
Ooh, that outside line's got to run.
And he pulls up the block, just exactly like they said during the short rain delay, talking to David Gilliland, talking about blocking the inside and out and just keeping them side by side.
Outside lane, that third groove working once again. Jeff Gordon in the 24 machine. That royal blue car is out there. Got Marcus Ambrose behind him. Carl Edwards lined up in row 3.
I'm always amazed watching these shots like this. It's beautiful to see that many cars just flying in formation. It's like a flyover before the race, or an air show, because it's just amazing.
Something you really have to see in person to appreciate it. So Dale Earnhardt Jr. peeking out of line, moving down to the middle, now thinks better of it, slides back out to that second groove up the track.
See, Matt's just controlling the inside line and the outside line, making it basically do what he wants it to do. Where you get in trouble is when you get that third line up there. Now, how do you control that third line?
Yeah. He's got a pretty good run right up the center right now.
A couple of pretty good plate racers here. Tony Stewart right in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr. on board with the 88, who right now is 7th. Stewart's pulled up right behind Matt Kenseth. Jimmy Johnson is there in the mix and on board with Junior once again. This is a great view, and 4 guys that absolutely know how to get it done here at Daytona.
It's a great shot there. Tony has done a great job to work his way through the pack to get to the head of this line.
Yeah, started 12th. Up to second. This puts him in a good spot too when the competition yellow comes out.
Yes.
It gives him a good restarting position.
A lot easier to play from ahead than behind.
Absolutely, yeah. That's why I said I don't think you want to hang back here today.
They're spread apart up there a little bit. Spread apart. 48, 14 on the bottom. Clear high. Clear high. 3 wide out the back. 14 coming to you. Big run, half back bottom.
The spotter communication here is so important.
3 wide behind you. 14 with the momentum. Half to the 14 quarter. 1 working the top of the 14 by himself. Top has the momentum. Clear by 1.
You see, Tony with the steering wheel there, his car is working really well. He just kind of makes one turn with it and just stays there, not having to fight the steering wheel too much.
Listen to the accelerator. Never comes.
Yeah, it's
just there. It's just there.
Oh, I think he's trying to. Yeah, he's got it.
How about this? Bobby Labonte pushing Tony Stewart out front in that outside lane, driving that 33 car this weekend, the 2000 Series champion. Got David Reagan in that mix. And how about the drivers up front that haven't won this season? Tony Stewart, Matt Kenseth, and also in that outside lane, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who's been in the top 10 in the last 3 restrictor plate races.
Stewart said he was going to be patient. That's how you work yourself to the front patiently.
Patiently, and 5 or 6 laps of race. But look at this. We've got 1 out front, 2 wide, then 3 wide behind these guys, and they're all just bobbing and weaving, blocking lines.
And this is where your car is going to start showing what it's doing. You've got to run. I think it was David Reagan was saying you got to get 20, 25 laps on these tires before you really know what you have to work with. It's a lot harder to run like this right now after you've got 25 laps on your tires than you can the first 10 or 15 laps on a set of fresh tires. You actually see these cars moving around a lot more right now.
Yeah, the tires go away, the fuel load changes, so your weight bias from front to rear changes on how a car drives, whether it's tighter, whether it's looser, which direction it goes. And then on top of that, you throw in the dirty air with these guys running 2 and 3 wide like this.
Yeah,
handling is definitely the priority.
You got to be careful of tapping people at this stage of where your tires are at as well. You can get into somebody and he can save it a lot easier on better tires.
How about behind Stewart right now, inside lane? The teammates from Front Row Motorsports. David Reagan, who qualified in the 8th position. His teammate David Gilliland started on the pole. They finished 1-2 at Talladega last year. So good in the draft, and here they come. Gilliland pushing Reagan to the front as they head over to turn 2 and down the back straightaway.
It's really not really surprising to us. I mean, these two guys run restrictor plate races so well, especially David Reagan. I mean, really, really, really good at this stuff.
Bobby Labonte in that 33 car has been pushed out front. Coming off of turn 4, when we get to the start-finish line, we will complete lap 20 today.
Rickon behind you here, Rickon.
And now we have a crash. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. involved. Tony Stewart around. And that's Dale Earnhardt Jr. through the infield grass. Carl Edwards has some damage.
Kenseth just about had it missed, and looks like he ran into the 88.
Harvick,
Johnson, a lot of good
Kyle
race
Larson.
cars. I mean, a lot of good race cars. Guys in the points.
Wow. 3 consecutive top 5 finishes at Daytona. The 6-time champion Jimmy Johnson has damage here.
Marcus Ambrose spun, obviously drove through the grass over to the pit road.
Well, the grass is not the place you want to be today after all the rain that we've had.
Carl Edwards. Wow.
At least 11 cars involved in our first big accident of the day here at Daytona.
We're seeing it for the first time. It looks like Stenhouse got a little bit squirrely. Stewart came up and got into Jeff Gordon there. Looks like Stewart was just trying to avoid the 17.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell from that angle, but it looks like Stenhouse, as he gets squirrely, comes down into Tony a little bit. You see Stenhouse up next to the wall, sideways, comes down across, taps Stewart. Oh.
Yeah, no, Jeff was trying to avoid this 17 car and got into Tony Stewart.
Yeah, got in the right rear Tony. Yeah.
Trevor Bayne, who won the 2011 Daytona 500, driving for the Wood brothers, and that 21 car got turned around. And Danica may have gotten a little bit of nose damage, but she did a heck of a job getting through and not getting caught up.
And you watch Tony here. He didn't move much, man. He just hung right. He didn't move at all.
No.
And then he got hooked in the right rear into Stewart, into Ricky Stenhouse, but Tony was doing what he needed to do right there. He would have gotten by that without any problem if he wouldn't have gotten tagged by Jeff.
Yeah, Tony. It didn't appear that Tony ever turned the steering wheel, and as he got loose, he came over, but he never even tapped Tony. It was the 24 car of Jeff Gordon thinking something was going to happen, and going ahead and anticipating the move and getting into the right rear quarter panel of Tony.
Talk about the drivers looking for their first win of the year. Tony Stewart, Matt Kenseth, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., all involved in that one, as was the rookie Kyle Larson.
Boy, and that's just one of those decisions you make. You got to make a split-second decision, and you're either a hero or zero on that one.
Yeah.
You just think you think they're going to be wrecking in front of you, and you have to react.
Yeah, and it's just that anticipation. And on pit road during the little bit of rain delay, Carl, as we watch this wreck again.
In the middle, there's up high above, come through the middle.
Yeah.
Hold it right there.
Junior, he just gets jacked up right there because they're 3 wide. They're trying to slow down and looking in front of them. But it's like Carl and those guys said, we're a little bit envious of how that 17's working in the high line. It wasn't working perfect.
Watch right in front of you, stay high, stay right in front of you, easy. Go high, go low.
Wow.
He almost had that thing cleared.
Great job. And he got run over. You could hear him get hit from behind, but he did an incredible job of making it that far.
Watch Danica drive through this mess.
I'll take a 3 back here, pick up just a little, watch them back down real slow, back down, hard. Center of the middle here, middle, top, go high, back it down. Here.
Jeff Gordon's won at Daytona 6 times, 3 times here in the summer race. Let's listen to what he had to say about the accident.
That 17 got loose. I got loose. I got into 14. I think we're going to be okay here, guys. We need a left front fender piece. Eddie, give me what you can on the damage, please.
10-4. I know we're trailing smoke, but I haven't seen the damage yet.
Should be the left front tire. Let's get a left front fender piece.
See, they've already done some repair work to that left front of Jeff Gordon's Chevrolet. Marcus Ambrose has made several trips down pit road, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. there as well, Larry.
Yeah, I guess when I look at the drivers involved in this wreck, we've had 10 different winners here in 2014, and it's been a long time since we had someone new win a race this year. To me, when I look at drivers involved, this opens the door to get our 11th winner, because we had 7 drivers involved in this wreck that's won races. The only one that dodged this wreck that's won this year, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, and Kurt Busch. This opens the door to have that 11th winner of 2014.
Yeah, the last 5 weeks, Larry, we've had a repeat winner. And you see the drivers that got damage here in our first crash of the day. Talked about drivers that have gone to victory lane. Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Several other drivers involved in the accident had not won this season. You see A.J. Allmendinger's name there. He's now been pulled out of the infield grass. He got turned around and was stuck. So much overnight rain. Once you get on the infield here, you can pretty much go nowhere. And if you look down from where we're standing here in the booth, the grass is a mess with tire tracks and divots thrown everywhere.
Yeah, it's like you said, there was just so much wet. And you see where right here in front of the start-finish line, it's just dug up. I mean, it's just nasty out here.
And we had a camera down there in the infield grass. Let's see how it did with our first big crash.
So I'm not the only one that took out a camera this weekend.
That looks like Wally's camera.
If you're keeping score at home, it's Tony Stewart 1, infield camera nothing.
And, you know, I want to go back. We heard Jeff say that his car got loose, too. And, you know, he's the only one that knows. He's the one that's sitting in the car. He's the one that knows what that car did. And we have to defer to him that his car got loose. But it looked from the outside looking in that he anticipated a move that never happened. And, you know, like he said, and I got into the back of the 14.
But that's what this style of racing is a lot about, anticipation, right?
Yeah, you have to anticipate what's happening in front of you and what's. You can only look one way. Your spotter's supposed to is helping you the other way, but you know it's anticipating that inside line moving. It's anticipating there being an opening somewhere, and sometimes the door shuts.
I think Tony anticipated it correctly, and Jeff may not have, but Tony still wound up, unfortunately, being put on a flatbed.
Under caution for the second time today. Now here's a look at the Expendables 3 in theaters starting August 15th. Field is on pit road at Daytona to Marty Snyder.
When you talk about the guys who have opened the door, like Larry Mack talked a moment ago, Jamie McMurray coming to pit road. You'll see him on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Car a little bit loose for McMurray. They're going to go 4 tires here. He said that's going to be a key all day long. Ralph?
Well, we're down here with Jimmy Johnson, who's just come out of the care center. Jimmy, can you take us through that wreck and what happened?
I was kind of busy with my environment and 3 wide, and I just saw cars and smoke, cars moving around, smoke in front of me. So I don't know what triggered it, what happened, but just thoroughly disappointed for everybody on the Lowe's team. And guys have been down here for 4 days in this heat working on the cars, and not to mention all the time and effort put into this. To go 15 or 20 laps is just a big bummer.
The frustration coming from the garage. You can see what happened on pit road. 2 tires for David Reagan. He holds serve and comes off in the top spot. We'll reset the running order when we return to Daytona on TNT. A closer look at today's race brought to you by the Sprint Family Plan. With 7 people on the Sprint Unlimited Family Plan, you can get unlimited data, talk, and text for as low as $45 per month each. Visit sprint.com/speed or a Sprint store to start your family today. 26 laps into the 160 that make up the Coke Zero 400. Under caution for the second time as we go to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Tony's down here. He's just come out of the infield care center. Give me your perspective on what took place out there.
We're a quarter lap away from getting a competition caution, and Stenhouse is going to be a hero. So I don't know. I don't know what happened to him there, but took out a bunch of good cars for no reason. So it's I don't know what it is. So no matter what I say right now, somebody's going to be mad and somebody's going to disagree with it. But I think it's a pretty dumb excuse to have the caution come out, 500 yards too early.
Marty?
Ralph, for the other side of that, let's talk to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And Tony Stewart just said that it might have been your fault, but I don't think he knew the 24 was there either. So what was your perspective on what happened?
Just looking at the replays, about like I thought. We had a good head steam run, going towards the lead there. And 33 pulled up in front of us, slowed up just a little bit. Got a little bit loose off the corner. I got it saved and was going straight for a little bit. And then it looked like the 24 kind of checked up and moved down, maybe thought I was going to spin it out, and got into the outside of the 14 there and turned him around. But our Cargill Beef Winn-Dixie Ford Fusion was really fast. I hate that it ended this way. For all the guys that got tore up race cars, that definitely not the way we wanted to end this day or end it this early. But I think our Ford was really fast, that we can be proud of. We'll go back, get working on it, see if we can make some more laps.
Were you a little surprised some of the guys were so aggressive so early, especially coming to a competition caution?
Not really. It's the way we are on these racetracks. It seems like we just go for it. You want to be in the outside lane. It seems like the cars drive a little bit better out there, and the cars on the bottom seem to be getting loose and loose off, loose in, a little tight in the center. So that's why that outside lane kept going faster and faster compared to the inside lanes, and we just got loose there.
He had finished top 10 in both plate races so far this year. Will not today, Adam.
And Marty, for Tony Stewart, who we heard from, he had won a race here in 9 consecutive seasons. Not going to happen for him in 2014. A shutout for the 3-time champion. David Reagan, the race leader, chooses the outside lane. We go back green, completing lap 28. See Kyle Busch third in line on that bottom lane, starting to make his way to the front after starting deep in the field.
When you look at that top 10, due to that wreck taking out a lot of good cars, there's a lot of guys that have an opportunity to win a race that either haven't at all or need that win to get in the chase.
Well, we mentioned Kyle Busch on the move. How about Jamie McMurray tucked in line in that second groove? But he's another one of those drivers so good on plate tracks. Feels like he can capitalize today, and they need to after the disappointment they had last week at Kentucky.
And how about Reed Sorensen in that Tommy Baldwin car out front doing the same thing we've seen, whether it was Matt Kenseth, whether it was David Gilliland, blocking that, or slowing down that outside groove, then cutting back across and picking up that inside line.
Landon Castle right there behind him, and that outside lane heating up again. The third groove being led right now by the 43 car of Eric Almirola as we check in with Larry.
I'm watching is Denny Hamlin, that 11 car. He started back in the 37th position. He actually got a little bit of damage in that wreck, but not enough that hindered his track position. And think about it. He won Talladega. He finished second in the Daytona 500 here in February and won the Sprint Unlimited and the Budweiser Duel. So obviously I think he's going to be a player, even though he was one of those 7 drivers I mentioned. They got a little bit of damage in that wreck.
And Larry, you told a great story about Denny and some of the quotes he had leading up to this race. He said, I've learned so much about slowing down and taking my time to get to the front. It's working for Denny Hamlin, up 31 positions, his teammate in that category as well.
One thing Kyle and I are both watching, you talked about anticipation. You got to be careful that you're not making the same move at the same time. We're seeing some of these guys make moves and just hook the bumper with the guy's nose. When you're going to go to try to say you're going to pull out on a guy, if that guy sees it coming, he does it at the same time, you can get turned real easy.
Are you more cautious now based on what just happened, creating our second caution of the day?
I would say normally yes, but because you have some guys up there right now that normally don't run up front and like the view, they're going to be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, and I don't know how to put this except to say it this way. Denny Hamlin's used to racing with Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart and guys like that. He's not used to racing with Landon Castle and Reed Sorensen and David Gilliland and David Reagan. Guys, that's a totally different race that goes on the same racetrack. So when you get in that mix, you don't know. You're not sure what move this guy's going to make, and it's just like Wally says. You know, when you pull out on Jimmy, Jimmy's going to do this. When you pull out on Jeff, Jeff's going to do that. Whatever it is, you don't know with these guys, and vice versa. David Gilliland doesn't know what Denny Hamlin's going to do.
And there is a big-time trust factor when it comes to racing in the draft.
And you're sizing guys up right now. You're watching what's happening in front of you. Denny Hamlin sitting there in the 11. He's watching how these guys are racing, and he's going to decide within 2 or 3 laps who he can race with and who he wants to stay away from just by what they're doing in front of him and what kind of moves they're making.
Here's going to be something fun to watch. Right now in the 35th position, Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's the only car 1 lap down. He was involved in that accident. He gets a caution, gets the free pass. We have seen him win here under adverse conditions before. Don't rule out NASCAR's most popular driver as he goes for the sweep. Casey Kane, that Farmer Chevrolet, sticking his nose up in the middle of the draft. He's one of those drivers that's never experienced victory at a restrictor plate track, but did win here Friday evening in nationwide competition by 21 1/1000ths of a second. Came from 7th to 1st on the final lap.
And that's about as long as he had the lead.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he just got the lead and won the race.
Hadn't led a lap all day long and steals it at the start-finish line to grab the checker. And some good things happening for his sprint car teams. Darren Pittman won again last night, so that's positive. Man. On board with Eric Almirola.
These guys are making some moves, making me nervous.
Yes.
I mean, there's just a lot of cutting from the middle to the bottom. Boy, you can get away with it now with these tires, but another 10 or 15 laps, and those moves may get you in trouble.
And that's the deal. We see that a lot in here at the 500 and here in the 4th of July. These guys on new tires, they can run 3 and 4 wide. Then they go to 2 wide. Then they go to single file. Then they go to just trying to get to the pits to get a new set of tires.
35 laps complete. Eric Almirola in the top 15 right now. Marty just went to 10th.
Yeah, flirting with that top 10. Adam runs from 12th and 11th and now in 9th. As you see, I've heard Eric Almirola, Brad Keselowski, Jamie McMurray, all of them say, I'm shocked at how bad these cars are handling right now. While you talked about it, the sun is out, it's hot, and Keselowski came on the radio and said these guys are going to wreck each other. Some of these guys are having a tough time hanging on to their cars. Eventually, Keselowski said some of these guys might have to lift later in the run. How long has it been since we've come to Daytona and said you're going to have to lift in the middle of the corners, guys?
Yeah, I'm not shocked, just because with that sun being out, this place gets so slippery, so much more slippery. And a lot of the guys, like talked about, they have not run on this racetrack in these conditions, so they don't know how it was back before we had this night event.
And I'm going to say, Landon Castle's leading this thing. These are guys up here leading that we don't usually see up here. And we need to be talking about these guys because this is their shot at it right now.
Look at Landon Castle out front. Let me see. Matt Kenseth going to kiss the wall a little bit here.
He's just trying to get rid of that camera on the right rear.
Yeah, I think that's it.
That was a Wally move. You know, we were talking about tires, Larry, and a lot of guys didn't take tires on that opening pit stop of the day. What are you noticing here?
Well, that's what I was going to point out. We're completing lap 37 now. We have had 15 laps of caution, but 4 drivers that did fuel only on that last caution was Kyle Busch, Greg Biffle, Reed Sorensen, and Landon Castle that's leading this race. Those 4 drivers, they have the tires, Matt Yoakum, that they started this race on.
Larry Mack, different agendas for the 2 front row cars. Now David Reagan, his car, very good. It can be either tight or loose depending on where he puts his machine in the draft. They made no changes on that. His teammate, David Gilliland, his car fantastic as well. But while Reagan wanted to have a better shot of staying out front, they took 2 tires. Gilliland's team, they wanted to play it safe, knowing there was so much debris on the racetrack. They didn't want to put themselves in a bad spot by getting a flat and then having to pit again. So different agendas, but both are up front.
Matt Kenseth has led the most laps today, but he got damage in that crash we had earlier, and now that last lap led by Landon Castle, but it's Jamie McMurray inching out front here at Daytona. Race fans, you see her in victory lane each week, but Miss Sprint Cup does a whole lot more on race weekend. If you're not following her on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, then you're missing out on tons of great behind-the-scenes NASCAR Sprint Cup Series content. Check this out. Find the cure, save the world. The Last Ship, a new TNT series for Michael Bay. New tomorrow, 9/8 Central on TNT. Under caution at Daytona for the third time today. Had debris on track. Jamie McMurray leading this race. David Gilliland started on the pole, and he was talking about lane selection on his radio a moment ago.
Whoever's leading this bottom row has to stay on the bottom because we don't have any help.
Yep, 10-4, that's what I was going to say whenever we got a break right here.
It just gives the outside an advantage.
10-4.
I said David Gilliland, actually the team car David Reagan talking about lane selection.
And I kind of agree with that, is why my question of, these guys moving so much. I think if you're the leader, if you stay down on the bottom, it looks like the second lane or third lane has a really rough time getting up to you. It looks like when you're moving all over the racetrack, you're kind of pulling those guys up every once in a while, then they're dropping back. We haven't seen it yet, so if Reagan gets out front, we'll see if he does it.
Last time they pitted, lap 25, 17 laps into the run. Here they come again, Marty.
Adam, a lot of factors here. Weather on the way, so a lot of crew chiefs trying to get the track position they need or keep it if they have it. Jamie McMurray, top left of your screen, had a vibration for much of that run, but he said he didn't think it was a loose tire, so fuel only, Ralph.
Marty, just 2 tires for Greg Biffle. He asked him to check underneath the car. He smelled a little bit of gear oil earlier on, but he says, Matt, the car's running good.
Ralph, on the bottom of your screen, the 41, Kurt Busch's car was tighter in the first run, made adjustments, a little tighter in this one, but they're going to do fuel only. That will help free up the race car at the beginning to the middle part of the run.
Race off pit road. A lot of guys electing to take no tires. McMurray, Almirola, Landon Castle, Kurt Busch, the top 4. And under this, our third caution of the day, Dale Earnhardt Jr., the only car 1 lap down. He gets the free pass and is back on the lead lap. About to go back green in the Coke Zero 400, powered by Coca-Cola. Make sure to share a Coke Zero this summer and use the hashtag #ShareACoke to post your bottles. Visit NASCAR.com to make a virtual bottle with your name on it. Jamie McMurray, the race leader, as we get set for the restart. And according to team radio, he's chosen the outside lane. He said he thinks the inside lane is the way to go on restarts, but he likes the fact that Kurt Busch will be behind him here as we get the green flag, completing lap 44.
But everybody looks like when they get on the outside, they go right to the bottom as soon as they clear the front row. So
mentioned Dale Earnhardt Jr. got the free pass. He restarts just outside the top 30, but most importantly, he's back on the lead lap.
Down to the bottom.
And I'm sure that will change as this run continues, as it has all day long. Leader having to use that rear view mirror to make sure he's keeping the competition behind him, whether it be low, middle, or high. See Danica Patrick there, top of your screen. She got damage in that crash early, running 10th right now. Gibbs cars together here. Denny Hamlin right in front of Kyle Busch.
And I just think if he stays down on the bottom, it'd be hard for those guys on the outside lane to get there. But
big opportunity today for Greg Biffle. Hasn't won this season, won this race in 2003. He's running 5th right now.
Man, I've never seen anything like the front of this pack. Our guys are bouncing off each other. They're running into the fence, getting into turn 3. Unbelievable. It's calmed down now, but wow.
What do you chalk that up to, Wally?
Well, it's just, we were talking earlier, you have guys up there that aren't used to being up there. And you have guys that aren't used to running with some of the guys that Kyle was mentioning, and they're having an opportunity to run up front at Daytona. and it's just they're not used to it. And the moves that they're making are a little bit erratic. I mean, you can see it on TV, but so far they're pulling it off.
Now, to your point, 10 drivers have led today. Among them, David Gilliland, Landon Castle, Reed Sorensen, David Reagan. Things can get physical at Daytona.
And that's a great bump. I mean, you get, as long as you do that before you get to the corner, you could see how much he shoved the 43 car up towards McMurray. And, it looks like Jamie so far has committed to that bottom line. And the upper line hasn't really made any ground up on him.
No, and I think it's like you say, Jamie's committed there. He's staying there, and he's keeping that line. And the outside line is not able to get any, with Landon leading that outside line, he's just not got enough help and got enough to get up there where Jamie needs to change lines to slow it back down.
Yeah. But if Jamie moved up to the upper line, that upper line would catch him and bring it back up.
And to clarify, at NASCAR Sprint Cup level, bumping, pushing, using other drivers in the draft, perfectly legal in NASCAR's top series.
Yeah, and this is the way bump drafting used to be. You would come up and bump somebody, and we saw the 16 bump the 43 to get him to close up that hole in that inside line so that the 40 of Landon Castle didn't get down in the inside line and block him.
So Jamie McMurray is out front. He's got Eric Almirola tucked right behind him. What are they thinking at this stage of the race, Marty?
Well, both of the front two guys, Adam, went fuel only on that stop. Keith Rodden talked to Jamie McMurray under the caution and said, hey, listen, rain is close. We want to keep the track position we have. That's the reason for the fuel only. Tires are going to be huge today, guys. You're going to want 4 tires as much as you can as a driver, but that track position, that's more important, Adam.
Well, if you can get away with that, I mean, if you're up front, you can get away with being on a little bit worse tires. It's just when you get all of a sudden, if he got put back in 10th, 15th position, he's going to wish he had those tires on. But you're right, the track position is everything right here.
Hey guys, Landon Castle in that 40 car, they still have not changed a single tire on that car. And should this run stay green, we're going to go to about lap 80 or 82 for green flag stops. That means he's going to have to run half the race on the set of tires he started the race on.
I think that's going to catch up with him eventually.
Eventually it will, but it's not unheard of at Daytona to have things. I mean, we've seen through the history guys fake a 4-tire stop, change 2, and go and win the race. Guys come down pit road, act like they're going to change tires, not change tires, go on to a win. So it's not unheard of. These tires are a little bit different. It's a different day and age, but it's not unheard of.
Well, it's a different day. You could maybe get away with that, I think, at night. I'm not sure you can get away with that today.
Jamie McMurray has led 10 laps today. He's out front at Daytona, 50 of 160 laps complete in the Coke Zero 400 on TNT. 54 laps complete here at Daytona. 160 make up the Coke Zero 400, but by NASCAR rules, once you get to halfway, a race is official. Last night's race pushed back to today because of inclement weather, and we understand there are more rain showers in the area. This could become a race to halfway, and I would say in the next 25 laps, things could get very aggressive at the front.
Next 25 laps. What race
you ready right now?
Yeah.
So what are you thinking here, Larry?
Guys, there is no question. We are racing right now from a crew chief mentality, and I think a driver mentality. We are racing to lap 80. I keep following the story on Landon Castle in the 40 car. Remember, this was an impound race. You could not even jack that car up after qualifying. Not only does Landon Castle in that 40 car that's right now running in 11th position have 55 laps in this race on his tires, he has 12 laps from qualifying the other day.
Yeah, but like I mentioned, I think, Larry, now that he's lost the lead or that lead group, he's just hanging on. You can get away with that when you're up front. But, boy, I'll tell you what, I can imagine his car is going to become even more of a handful as these laps wind down.
Looking
at these.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you saw him put a lap on the 20 car of Matt Kenseth that was in that first race, but you saw Matt go in the corner, go way up the racetrack, and give the 16 of Greg Biffle and this pack the bottom 2 lanes of the racetrack and give them plenty of room to race.
Matt Kenseth, the driver, easily could have won today. Led 12 laps early, but involved in an accident as we were about to get a competition caution at lap 20. Some big names knocked out in that particular crash. Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr. all got damage. Look at this group in the top 5. A bunch of them trying to get their first win of the year, clinch a spot in the chase. Greg Biffle would fit that mold. Same with Jamie McMurray. Casey Kane's never won at a restrictor plate track. Would love to do it today and make himself chase eligible. David Gilliland started on the pole hanging tough. We talked about Danica Patrick involved in that accident earlier, but she's inside the top 10. Casey Mears, 2 career top 10s driving that 13 car, both of them right here at Daytona. He too is in the mix. What about Kurt Busch, Larry?
Well, Kurt Busch started back in the 40th position, and they went with 4 tires that first stop. In fact, they made adjustments on their car, even though they couldn't fuel it, when we had that very first caution for rain. But this is the first time that Daniel Kanost, the rookie crew chief for Kurt Busch, has made a second trip back to the same track with Kurt. Think about it. Kurt has 27 starts here. He has never won a restrictor plate points race, but he's finished second here 3 times.
Now think back to 2008 and Kurt Busch when he pushed Ryan Newman to the win when they were both driving for Team Penske. He's been so close so many times. Talking about Kurt Busch at Daytona and Talladega. Perhaps today is his day, and of course he has already won this season, claiming victory early in the year on the short track in Martinsville, Virginia. Mentioned Landon Castle on those tires that are much older than the cars around him, but he's still inside the top 12. Running alongside Eric Almirola, who had been right up at the front but drifted back a little bit ago. Some interesting names at the front that we have talked about trying to get their first victory of 2014. And then you've got Clint Boyer. He also would like a win, but right now 24th, Chris.
Indeed, Adam. Clint Boyer content running back in that second pack. He's pretty much been about 200 yards behind that lead pack the entire time, and no real pressure to catch up to that lead pack because the team feels we don't have any real threat of rain right now. And his spotter, Brett Griffin, consistently telling Clint, that lead pack is pretty crazy, so just stay back there and keep your options open. Matt?
And the guy that was running right around him is the 34 of David Reagan. Now, David just told his team he's going to try to take it easier on his tires this run. That will allow them the opportunity, if they want, to go 2 tires on their next stop. Already working on strategy for the next round.
That's good thinking.
Yeah.
As you can see, there's a lot of different strategies, but some of these guys thinking that we're racing halfway, and some of them thinking that, nope, we're going to go all the way.
Yeah, and you know, Clint's strategy, they're hanging back. But when I say hanging back, they're hanging back 200 yards. It's not the old school hang back where we used to see guys get almost a half a lap behind or a half a straightaway behind and they could run them back down. It's so much harder now with this package. We've heard these guys talk to say, if they drop the draft, you can't get called back up. The advantage they have is these guys up front are running 2 and 3 wide, and it's keeping this pack, or the main body of this pack, slowed down.
On board with Danica as you see the lead pack going around Kurt Busch, another one of the drivers involved in that incident at lap 19. He goes a lap down, has been on pit road several times today repairing damage.
And she's done a good job. After they came back from the caution, settled in here in the top 5 or 6. They had a little bit of damage to the front of the car. I think she got in the accident and has worked her way back up to here. And this is a pack we've seen her run up front here before. The first year she came. This is her kind of racing.
It's just watching her at the wheel. Looks like she's got a very good race car. Again, she's just kind of sets the steering wheel and she's not chasing it. If your car starts, really not handling, you'll start chasing it around, especially in the corners. Not doing that.
But you heard her on the accelerator there, kind of roll out and jump back in it real quick. And we heard Brad Kay say earlier, these guys are going to start rolling out. They're going to start letting off a little bit. You get yourself in a position where you have to come out of it a little bit and go again. But her car's working well enough And you see her on the steering wheel. Not a lot of movement there. Makes her cut to get in the corner, cuts through the center of the corner, and comes up off.
Starting in the pole position in the 2013 Daytona 500, finished inside the top 10, leading laps. Danica Patrick, no stranger to being up front here at Daytona. Ralph, what about that 16 car?
Well, Adam, the problem for him is not his race car, it's the ones behind him. As you can see, Jamie McMurray in the one car has lost touch a little bit with Greg, and he doesn't have the push from behind in that lane that he needed to stay up front. And because nobody can really get up there and help, he's really slipping back, and that outer lane, guys, is working better than the bottom.
Yes, 20 laps into this run, the outer lane becomes the faster lap. For the first 15 or 20, it's tires in that inside lane.
Something to keep an eye on here at Daytona. Kurt Busch, the race leader, as we complete 64 laps in the Coke Zero 400. 67 laps complete here at the World Center of Racing. Of the 160 that make up today's Coke Zero 400, Kurt Busch, the race leader, Casey Kane, Joey Logano, Danica Patrick, and Casey Mears are the top 5. And now we go with our Ram, no guts, no glory, to Larry McReynolds.
Well, I'm going to look here at Kurt Busch in his 41 car. Again, started back in the 40th position. And I go back to what Daniel Knost, his crew chief, did on that first caution for rain. 42 drivers stayed on the racetrack. Daniel brought Kurt to pit road because Kurt was not happy with that race car, made adjustments, and then when you look at the next caution, pretty much hits pit road and gets his 4 tires, and what that allowed him to do the next stop, which was on the last caution, was fuel only and get to the front of the pack.
Got to play that strategy game, gain some track position.
Now we see as we come back, everybody's moved to the top of the racetrack in single file. Now you know the tires have given up. Now we're just waiting till we can get to that green flag stop and then start racing again.
About 25 laps into the run. It's
yes.
similar to the last time, so that's
yes.
been consistent.
They're talking about Kurt Busch and this 41 team. You talk about the highs and lows for an organization. Came in, new opportunity in 2014, driving for Stewart-Haas Racing. Didn't have everything go their way, but they knew that win at Martinsville put them in great position to make the chase. You get a victory here today, it puts you over the top with only 8 races remaining till NASCAR's version of the playoffs, and it also helps you in the momentum category. Mentioned earlier a couple of drivers that had gone a lap down after getting damage in that second caution of the day. Matt Kenseth in that category, Brad Keselowski also. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the only driver now shown 1 lap down, or the final of those drivers that is on the lead lap, but he's 45 seconds off the pace in 33rd, and there you see Dale Jr. about to go a lap in arrears.
So now, you kind of, I'm sure the strategies are still changing because a lot of guys maybe were just going to take 2 or whatever. Some of these guys are racing to the 80th lap, and boy, I bet you a lot of these drivers are saying, you know what, I think I need all the tires I can get on this next pit stop.
Yeah, you need all the tires you can get, but if it's a green flag stop, you're going to want to get in and out as quickly as possible. But remember, you've still got to take those 2 cans of gas, and that's the deal. Can you change 4 in the time you put fuel in, or will you just take the 2 right side tires?
And obviously, the guys you're racing around, you want to kind of find out what they're doing as well. Because if you've got a pack of guys you're comfortable with, you're better off if 4 or 5 guys just all take 4 and you go out with them.
Yeah, guys, I find it interesting that the halfway point of this race, it's going to be about the time the window opens for green flag pit stops. I think it's a great opportunity, knowing you're going to have to dump 2 full cans of Sunoco race fuel, to go ahead and change all 4 Goodyear tires, because Wally and Kyle, making a green flag stop here, the biggest thing a driver can be susceptible to do is sliding the tires getting on the pit road.
Yes, but at the same time, it's a great opportunity for somebody who hasn't won a race to gamble, change 2 tires, get out in front with 2 or 3 other guys, and you never know what the weather's going to do. We've seen that for the last 3 or 4 days here and catch everybody asleep.
Casey Kane riding second right now, Ralph.
Well, Adam, we're 9 laps to halfway, and the word just came over the radio to Casey Kane, who runs in second place, that we're going to go 15 more laps with the setup we have on this race car. So if he's unhappy with the way it's handling or how it feels, he's got a few more laps to go, Marty.
Guys back in the back, Jamie McMurray hanging in the top 10, but now we're starting to see the effect of not taking tires on that last stop. If you'll notice, everybody's gone to the high line. McMurray said just 2 loose to run the bottom. Of course, he'd like some fresh tires, like Larry Mack mentioned. 4 new ones would be very nice. And as Larry Mack also mentioned, about 6 laps, right at halfway, that's when we'll start seeing green flag stops, Adam.
Single file right now. They're playing the patience game. We'll have green flag pit stops when we return to Daytona. Kurt Busch has the field in tow with 73 laps complete. NASCAR on TNT, back live at the World Center of Racing. You're watching the 18th race of the year for NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. It's the Coke Zero 400 powered by Coca-Cola. 3 laps away from halfway. And the race leader is Kurt Busch, but that bottom lane starting to come to the front again. Greg Biffle, Jamie McMurray, and others. Let's get a report on the 41 to Matt.
Now in the last stop, the 41 team only took fuel. This time they're telling Kurt, we're planning to pit after you've completed 85 laps on the racetrack. Then we'll hit pit road, talking about more adjustments. The balance of the car, like everyone else, starting to shift. The sun was under the clouds now. It's fully back out in sun. 2 cars back is Joey Logano. He says the same thing. He's going to get bad fuel mileage. He's been flat-footing it. He says the car is just tight and then super free on exit.
This is going to make it interesting when they hit pit lane, because you can see these guys are all starting, I think, position themselves because they know the pit stop's coming.
Yes.
And it's going to be a madhouse getting down a pit lane without hitting each other.
Yeah, a couple of things. They went to the outside of the racetrack as the handling kind of went away. Now they're trying to reposition themselves, and they've gone back to the bottom. But as they've gone back to the bottom, the outside's given up some. So those guys are checking up. The outside's the longest way around the racetrack. I don't know if you guys at home noticed, but as they lapped Junior, as they passed him, he fell in line about 8th or 9th and was able to maintain. He's in line to get that lucky dog if a caution comes out, but obviously he just lost the draft early on. If they can get a caution and get back in the lead lap, he appears to have a car that it can at least run in the pack. Whether it can lead or not, that's yet to be seen.
Last time we got a report on Clint Boyer, he was hanging back, running in the 24th position. Now he's worked his way in to the top 10. What's the word in the 15 camp, Chris?
And Adam, I think we're starting to see some other drivers try the bottom because Clint Boyer started making a charge at the bottom. Like you said, he was back in 24th. He's worked his way up to 6th, 7th, depending on which time we go by the line here. But other drivers starting to move down as they saw Boyer moving up. He's saying that car working really well.
But you don't want to be, you know, these guys were single file. You don't want to come down pit lane single file in 28th position, 29th position, because then it's hard. Then it's easier for that pack to split. So I think these guys know what's coming, and they need to get up in there. So when they make the pit stops and leave, they're in a group somehow.
We're halfway, so this race is official at Daytona. How about Casey Mears just hanging inside the top 10 in that 13 car?
And you see Keselowski up there as well. You were talking about Earnhardt, Kyle. Keselowski's in that group too. He's trying to be the first car 1 lap down.
Yeah, they're battling for the free pass. We talked earlier about Brad Keselowski having the draft go by him on the inside. He and Earnhardt Jr. both in that front group, but 1 lap down. Should the caution come out, it would likely be one of those drivers that would receive the free pass. And as we know, here at Daytona, if you can get on the lead lap, the way crazy things unfold late in these races, anything can happen. And there you see him running nose to tail, the 88 right in front of the 2 on track. What's the latest on the 2-car, Marty?
Adam, that's all the traffic on the 2-car. Joey Meyer, the spotter, has kind of counseled him to get around the 88. They know that they are, as you mentioned, racing for the lucky dog. And this 2 team has worked so hard on this car. They actually had to one point set the toe. And if you'll notice right there from Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s bumper cam, there is no front valence on that 2-car. Brad Keselowski doing a yeoman's job today. Without a front valence on that race car, I'm sure he has a lot less front downforce as well.
Got the dominating win a week ago at Kentucky, Marty. His second victory of 2014, leading 199 of 267 laps.
Yeah, look right there where Marty was talking about. It's sheared off from that wreck. I mean, doesn't seem to be. Well, his car's probably going to be on the tight side, yes, I would think, once the tires go off on this thing. But he's hanging in there pretty darn good right now with that lead group.
Just completed lap 83. It's been 41 laps since these guys were on pit road, and here comes the 13 of Casey Mears, Matt. He's all by himself.
And in 2.5 more laps, you're going to see more people hit pit road. Now, Casey Mears had to come just a tick early. Young man almost won the Daytona 500 back in 2006, finishing second. You can see right side tires going out of trouble on the right rear. Packing him full of fuel, and he's away. It is sprinkling off and on. Could make strategy very interesting coming up here. Now, the 41 of Busch, he'll have Casey Kane and Danica Patrick to pit with when they peel off for pit road.
Here comes a pack of them.
Lap 84 for this group. Among them, Denny Hamlin, teammate Kyle Busch, another Toyota and Clint Bowyer, Austin Dillon, Landon Castle, David Gilliland, Jamie McMurray. Let's hear from Clint Bowyer's pit.
Yeah, Clint Bowyer, sounds like they're going to do 4 tires on this stop. They did 4 tires back at lap 43. Clint saying that car a little bit tight, so they're going to make an air pressure change. Ralph.
No chassis adjustments for the 11. A water bottle through the window to keep the driver hydrated. 4 tires going on and full fuel, Marty.
Jamie McMurray already left his pit stall. He was at the very front end of pit road as the rain starts to come down just a little bit, sprinkling. McMurray with a wedge adjustment got actually too tight at the end of that run. 4 tires, Matt.
More cars have already pitted, Marty. The front row teammates have all pitted, taking 2 tires, trying to get themselves out to stay up near the front, concerned about what will happen with the weather.
Kurt Busch continues to lead, and as we've got these green flag pit stops beginning, the field has started to break up. Michael McDowell making his pit stop is sideways in the pit stall, and right behind him, Brian Vickers getting service in that Aaron's Toyota. And there you see McDowell.
And he was hanging on to the draft and running in that draft. This is going to kill him under green flags.
Yeah, it looks like he might have had a bit much rear brake in that car. They had them all 4 locked up, though, but
it's almost like he didn't realize he was that close to his pin.
But he's in the box. The stop is completely legal, and here comes the leader, Kurt Busch. Right behind him, Casey Kane in the 22 of Joey Logano. Let's follow Kane's stop with Ralph.
Casey Kane making his way down pit road to the attention of Kenny Francis and his crew. They're going to go to work on the right side of the car. Doesn't look like any chassis adjustments here, Matt.
The 41 of Busch is in. 4 tires for the 41 machine. That's the game plan for that car. Remember, he needed tires. Fuel only the last stop. Joey Logano, he's also in. 4 tires on. He's topped off of fuel. Both are away together.
Boy, that stop Danica Patrick had looked like she saw her pit box too late. She tried to turn in and lock the brakes up, but now she's going to probably lose the draft. But you watch her coming in here, it's almost like she saw her box way too late. And you know, Kyle mentioned it on Top Show. It is so hard to see and find your pit boxes on these pit lanes because all the colors and everything just blend. Unless you have somebody really counting you down, it's so difficult, Ralph.
Wally, you're right. They wanted 4 tires and fuel on the 16 of Greg Biffle. Greg also asked for a new tear-off off the windshield. He got that, and away he goes.
Yeah, Danica's going to lose that draft. That's too bad. She was running good.
Yeah, inside the top 10. Some of the cars involved in the earlier accident making their way back into the race. Kevin Harvick, Tony Stewart, the 21 of Trevor Bayne. Jeff Gordon had the race lead after things cycled through. Here comes the 4-time champion, 6-time Daytona winner down for his service. He'll get it at lap 87.
Adam, 2 tires at this juncture. The call for the 24 of Jeff Gordon. He says the car, if anything, was tight off turn 4. You can see the repair work that was done to the front left corner of that machine, packing and full of fuel, and he's away.
11.6 seconds on the stop for Gordon in that 24 car. Quick service for them. So our first cycle of green flag stops are complete. As it cycles through, keep an eye on the scoring monitor. Kurt Busch up there with Eric Almirola, Joey Logano, Casey Mears, and Kyle Busch. Make sure to share a Coke Zero this summer and use the hashtag #ShareACoke to post your bottles. Visit NASCAR.com to make a virtual bottle with your name on it. Kurt Busch back out front at Daytona. Coke Zero wants you to make this summer the summer of sharing. Spread happiness. Share a Coke Zero. And now we'll look at our Fresh from Florida race recap. 92 of 160 laps complete. We did have a 26-minute red flag for rain. Just a handful of laps into this race. Got the track dry. And then just before we were expecting a competition caution at lap 20 coming to the tri-oval, 15 cars involved in a crash. Among them, Matt Kenseth, Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson. Saw Trevor Bayne, Marcus Ambrose, Kevin Harvick. Some of these cars have been able to rejoin the field. Kyle Larson, Carl Edwards also got damage. Number of lead changes here today. In fact, we've had 20 lead changes among 15 drivers. Kurt Busch has led the most laps. He's been out front for 31 circuits, and he's out front right now as we get our 4th caution of the day, and it's for debris.
Boy, is that a break for her. Danica Patrick.
And it should be for Dale Jr.
Yep.
Who
gets the lucky dog?
Should get the lucky dog.
So let's go back to the pit stop last cycle, and Danica Patrick having troubles getting into her pit stall.
Just the way it works. The 16 changed his mind. We can't do nothing about that but count you down to the pit stall.
Yeah, copy that. Completely loud and clear. So, sorry about that, but that's just what happened for me, too.
Was running in the top 10 when we started the cycle of green flag pit stops, and right now back in the 29th position under caution.
Yeah, that's 10 seconds, which is a long way when under a green flag, but that's fine. They got away with it because this caution just, pulls her back into the pack. If it would have stayed green, she would have never caught that pack.
And Kyle, what we were talking about earlier, Brad Keselowski, Dale Earnhardt Jr. battling for that free pass position. It goes to Dale Earnhardt Jr. here under caution. He's back in the 30th position, but NASCAR's most popular driver has an opportunity to pounce now, Larry.
Yeah, here's what I'm going to be anxious to watch, guys, because we still have 31, now 32 drivers on the lead lap. We basically have 66 laps to go. The timing of those green flag stops that we just cycled through pretty much put it a one-stop race. I think we'll see a lot of the drivers, maybe in the back half of the lead lap drivers, hit pit road for fuel only, because when you think about it, this race is 160 laps, but 4 times in the last 10 July races, we have had a green-white checkered. I think you'll see the guys at the front stay out. I think you're seeing that right now, but I think you're going to see some guys come to pit road for fuel only.
Under caution for the 4th time today. 95 laps complete. Kurt Busch, Eric Almirola, Joey Logano, Casey Mears, Clint Bowyer, the top 5 at Daytona. Get customized coverage of Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, and every other driver in the field with the Team Stream app from Bleacher Report. Download Team Stream for your iPad, iPhone, or Android device today. Under this, our 4th caution of the day, 14 drivers electing to stay out. Dale Earnhardt Jr. got the free pass, comes down for his service, and The report we're getting, the reason these drivers elected not to pit here is because you look at the skies, you look at the radar, and you know there is the chance of rain at any time. We're past halfway. It's a game you got to play, and we'll see how it plays out for them down the stretch here. Kurt Busch has led the most laps, 34 circuits. And the driver from Las Vegas, Nevada, going to choose the inside lane for the restart. Eric Almirola restarting beside him. Joey Logano, Casey Mears, row 2. Then it's Clint Boyer and Casey Kane, row 3. Kyle Busch, Greg Biffle, Jamie McMurray, David Reagan complete the top 10. We get the green flag, completing lap 97 of 160 in the Coke 0400 here at Daytona.
Yeah, I think if there is weather coming, you'll see a little bit more sense of urgency right now with these guys than we have up to this point.
I'm not sure my heart can take much more of the sense of urgency than what we've seen the first part of this race.
Very true.
Outside lane hanging tough here on the restart.
Oh, here we go.
Got trouble. That's Casey Kane that goes sideways. Joey Logano nowhere to go.
Oh my,
Clint
half the
Boyer
field
through
is
the grass. The big one at Daytona has happened at lap 97.
That is the huge one at Daytona.
Justin Allgaier.
Oh, the
Denny
18
Hamlin,
gets on its roof.
Kyle Busch rolls upside down.
Wow.
See the 26 car of Cole Witt, the 38 of David Gilliland.
Just having a good old time over here. Just hanging around. Okay. Just stay buckled up. Let them get you hooked over here.
That's Kyle Busch. Yeah, there goes our antenna on the onboard of the 18. Kyle Busch. And that was I think the slowest rollover
and the latest
I've ever seen.
It was almost like a delayed reaction to the crash. Saw rookie Ryan Truex backing through your picture. He had damage. Safety crews are there.
And let me tell you that, you know, when you're upside down in one of these cars, Kyle, because you're so buckled in. Let's take a replay here. It looks like the 16 got into the 5 a little bit too hard and just turned him. And man, what talk about getting piled up.
Watch the 3 car when we get another replay of Austin Dillon come shooting up through the middle and trying to avoid the accident.
26 of Cole Witt just got into the 18 to turn him over.
And watch Danica in this outside line right here. She and the 2 car of Brad Keselowski. Wow, that 1 car's up in the air right there.
All 4 tires were off the ground.
He just launched.
It's that was perfect. I mean, she just slowed it down enough to let everything clean off in front of her, as Brad did.
As they got to the corner, as you get to these corners, once the cars go up, they will come back down.
Especially when they slow down.
Yeah, when they slow down, they just come back down the racetrack. And that was, she was in the right place in this line to be able to whoa her car down, not get run over from behind, and just kind of right there, she's nose to nose.
That Austin Dillon that got through that? That 3 car, man, he did a nice job getting through there as well.
Nice job by him.
We ride with Kyle Busch, who at the end of this mess goes on his roof.
22 is pushing to 41. You need to get lower, 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 lower. We're in it.
Right here. And it was just because his car was on the banking and on the apron, just at the right enough angle for somebody to just kind of toss him upside down.
She runs up on the outside there, gets into the front, just gets hit in the back by the 26 car that ends up hitting the 18 car. So she's probably got a little nose damage and a little bit in the back of the car.
Second time today she's dodged a bullet.
Yeah, from the in car here.
Spin in front of you. Stay high, back it down, 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 back it down.
Just barely gets into the car in
Still
front of him. I
inside
think
here,
that's
still
the
inside here.
38.
No lane. What do you got here? What do you got?
That's a good job.
And it just opens
I mean, I
up.
got hit in the front back, but
Really good job.
With Dale Earnhardt Jr., who had just gotten back on the lead lap.
And Dale got it slowed down enough.
Yeah.
To where he could stay away from it.
Okay, around the outside up by the wall if you can.
That's perfect.
As you look at the carnage as he drives by away.
And that's
Holy
why
mackerel.
that's why you want to be on the lead lap here, because you know if you get the big one, all of a sudden you take out 12, 15 cars, you're right back in the mix.
You know, I was saying about these cars, you're in these cars so tight anymore. It's not like you can just unbuckle and get out of these cars easily, because you're so tight in these seats now, and everything comes around the helmet, and kind of sit there and wait a long time. It seems like forever.
Red flag out for the second time today. It happened earlier for rain, 10 laps into this event, and here we are at lap 98.
And see, and like I said, he's still sitting in there, but there's nowhere. If he unbuckled, if you look at, there's nowhere for him to go, which is not a good feeling.
No.
Be upside down. The cameras still work.
That's impressive. Kyle Busch, a runner-up last week at Kentucky. One of the best runs this team has had in recent weeks, but unfortunately today going to be captured in the big one here at the World Center of Racing. And as he climbs from his car, a nice hand from the crowd.
I'd like to get a car count on that. How many cars damaged in that? That's got to be a record.
But you know what? Watching that and watching Kyle Busch roll over there at the end, really the 5 car and then Jamie McMurray, there were a couple of guys that took some pretty good licks, but it was really a slow crash developing, and a slow crash. They just all get down in the corner and just pile up real slow, and they're not that far from where they didn't end up that far from where the wreck started.
Look at the spotters over there. All the binoculars working hard, nothing you can do.
Yeah, there really isn't. A crash like that, there's not a whole lot you can be telling. I mean, because if you think you're clear in front of you, somebody's going to run into the side of you or behind you or whatever.
2 laps shy of lap 100. Kurt Busch asking about younger brother Kyle on the radio. Listen to this.
10-4, let me know if he gets out. 10-4, I'll let you know. Yeah, Hirschman says he's fine, Kurt, just let you know. What caused that is the 16 got back into the 5, which hooked the 22.
Really sorry. I don't know what we need to just do different there, really. I drug the brake to stay attached to the 22. The outside just got a run on us.
Yeah, the 15 dragged his butt, and that's when then he got the big run.
Yeah, that wasn't you, Kurt. That was the 16 hit the 5 and sent him into the 22. That was not you.
Kurt Busch talking with his spotter, Rick Corelli, who was quite a driver in his own right. And Kurt right now second on the track under the red to Eric Almirola. Now we look at those drivers that were a part of this most recent accident. Second time we've had a big crash today at Daytona. Denny Hamlin, pre-race contender. Joey Logano fit that category. Clint Boyer had the big drive through the field. Menard, Kane. Got Newman there, who won at Daytona in 08. Greg Biffle, who's won here. Kyle Busch, Jamie McMurray. High hopes for so many. A disappointing end of the day, and Greg Biffle among them. Let's hear from him.
Well, Greg is down here with us. He came out of the car. You okay, first of all?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm just so unhappy. I watched the replay and just close quarters racing. David Reagan, 34, gave me a big push. And then Casey got up and went to the middle and ran into the back of the 13 car and slowed way up. And I hit the back of the 5. And, we weren't lined up. He moved down for some reason, when he hit the 13 or something. But just a chain reaction, you just never know that cars are going to slow down that quick. And I had a shove from the 34 from behind, and you can't react that fast, unfortunately.
Greg, you made the comment earlier in the day on the radio that this is some of the craziest racing you'd seen out here in a long time. You said it was unbelievable. Was this just more of that, just the way the day was unfolding?
No, this wasn't at all. You know, this was pretty calm. I mean, just the beginning of that thing was kind of crazy when the 40 and the 36 and 38 were dicing for the lead. I saw one guy kind of get hooked, similar to that, and went up and kissed the wall and came back down. I thought we were all wrecked, and we all kept going like nothing happened. But, you know, then it calmed down, and we had green flag pit cycles and everything. And right there was just a matter of a chain reaction. You know, the 5 moved down to the middle and slowed up really, really fast against the back of the 13. And right then I got a shove from David, and I hit the back of the 5, not lined up, and that just started a chain reaction.
Adam.
Thank you, Ralph. So Greg Biffle is okay. We also got a report that David Gilliland has come from the infield care center and is okay. And there you see David. Let's hear from David, Marty.
Adam, as you saw, you walked from the care center. What was your take on all that craziness that happened over there?
I knew there was going to be trouble there. Probably should have given myself more room, but you know, some people stayed out there in tires with the track as warm as it is. Handling's really becoming an issue, and cars are sliding around all over. And a lot of guys didn't take any tires, and you know, I don't know, boy, that happened right up towards the front. Looked like Biffle got in the back of the 5, but what a mess. But not the day we were looking for. We had a great car, had a great run going. Real proud of my team. Loves Travel Stop, support our military. Proud of them guys and everything they do for us. So we're going to try and get it fixed and then hopefully pass some of these cars.
Yeah, they're going to try and get back out on the racetrack if they can, Adam. Obviously a lot of carnage, so a lot of these teams are really going to work on their cars trying to get them back out.
Kind of ironic, though, is the guys who we were worried about being up front, not used to it, causing a wreck, didn't. The guys that we're used to seeing up front are the ones that got in the wreck.
And we showed you the cars that were involved in the accident. By our count, 12 cars that were running on the lead lap avoided damage there. We'll get those numbers straight when we return to Daytona.
Like?
One day behind schedule here in Daytona Beach, Florida for the Coke Zero 400 powered by Coca-Cola. It's the 18th race of the year for NASCAR Sprint Cup teams under caution after we just experienced our second red flag of the day. This one for a big crash that involved many drivers, including Casey Kane. Marty?
Yep, out of the care center, and he was up front to avoid all the accidents. And what happened to start it from your perspective?
Yeah, I felt like I was about 6th or so, and I just was getting hit from behind, and pretty soon I was spinning. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a tough spot to be in. Everybody's trying to get going, and I just got hit. It got me going left to right and spun around. I knew it was going to be big as far up as I was.
Was it a matter of guys being too aggressive, or was it a matter of these cars being hard to handle late in a run?
No, it was just, the cars are hard to handle when they get pushed, when everybody's close together like that. Just if you're getting hit in the corners of your bumper, and that's what I felt like. It was the corners. I got hit a couple times, go left to right, and then it started spinning. So it was, I'm not exactly sure how it all happens, but we avoided the first wreck, and we didn't avoid the second one, so it's too bad.
Yeah, it was a very big incident for Casey Kane. Glad to see that you're out of the infield care center. Let's see if we can get a word with Kyle Busch. He's chatting with Jamie McMurray, and they're kind of going through this incident, and let's see if we can grab these guys. Kyle took a wild ride. You were upside down there, man. That wasn't fun, was it?
It was okay. It just felt like a slow carnival ride, but I guess that's fitting for the 4th of July weekend, but not here in Daytona. So that's just unfortunate. I don't know. I don't have any clue what happened. Somebody got squirrely. I saw the 5 turn sideways across the field there, and then all chaos ensued thereafter. And the grass is so wet, my stuff just augured in and then started turning right and going back up the racetrack. I wish it would have stayed straight. If it would have stayed straight, I might have had an opportunity to get through there and not be too banged up. But then I just got T-bone there at the end, and it just kind of toppled me over.
There was a carnival ride. We're glad that you're okay. Jamie McMurray, from your perspective, boy, at times you had one of the best cars today. What caused that?
I don't know. I knew that I was going to walk out here and you guys were going to ask me what happened, but from my seat, I didn't see anything. Casey came over and said that I think Greg or somebody maybe bumped him a couple times, and I got him squirrely, and he's like, I couldn't catch it. And when you have a car spin out, at the front of the field, it's just,
there's just nowhere to go. I mean, I ran into the guy that was directly in front of me, and then whoever was behind me clobbered me. And I tell you, I've never had a car lift like off the ground, and it's a crazy feeling. It's a helpless feeling to have the car do that. And I was really lucky that it sat back down. And you see these big wrecks. Those are like probably the easiest hits you take all year long because everyone's going the same speed, and for the most part, those don't hurt near as bad as having a tire issue or something.
You were saying that during your runs, you were surprised by the swing and how the car would handle. It handled one way at the beginning and completely different at the end, right?
Well, it wasn't necessarily that run to run. At the beginning of the race, I thought our car drove better. I could tell a lot of guys were having to lift, and I wasn't. I'm like, my car is really stable. And right at the end of the green flag pit stop run, I got a little bit tight. And I just assumed when we put tires on that they would have so much more grip that it would feel fine. But from the very first lap, it was tight. So I don't know if it was, a tight set of tires or if the track was just changing that much.
All right, glad to see that he's okay, Adam. And I tell you what, the Infield Care Center, a busy spot right now, Adam, but everybody walking out, everybody is fine.
On these wrecks, usually, unless you've caused it, or you were right next to the guy that you saw cause it, you don't know what happens. You're just... When it develops in front of you, you're just there.
And it was interesting, like he said. You see these big wrecks, just like we talked earlier. They all wrecked starting into turn 3, and they ended right there. Nobody ever took a hard hit. Right. I thought Jamie took one of the harder hits, but he said it wasn't that bad.
Let's go to the garage and Ralph.
Adam, you want to know what kind of day it is here at Daytona? Look at all the grease sweep here in the garage area. Look at this long line of fluids going all the way back to the racetrack. It goes both ways, guys. And when you look at the torn-up race cars, like Kyle Busch's number 18 over here, it is no surprise we'd have that much fluid scattered throughout this race garage area. It has been wild here in the garage area.
We're not done yet.
No, we're not.
Because it's getting dark. And I know these guys are trying to get this thing green to get as much more racing in. It's going to be pretty good right now.
Only 13 lead lap cars not involved on that lap 98 crash. 6 cars in the race not involved in a crash today. That's incredible. And as we get set to go back green, only 16 cars being scored on the lead lap. Front row, Eric Almirola, Kurt Busch. Restart comes as we put lap 104 on the scoreboard. And Almirola was the race leader there, chose the outside lane. Right behind him, Brian Vickers, who we haven't talked a lot about today.
Usually the leader has had a pretty good advantage on the restarts to clear the second place car, but we're not this time.
Look who's running 8th, Dale Earnhardt Jr. If he leaves here today with a 385-point advantage, with those 2 wins he has, a 385-point advantage over 31st would clinch a spot in the chase today.
And I think in their minds right now, these guys are racing to the rain. They're sitting there looking at the weather. As we've seen all week, it could happen at any minute.
At any minute. We've gone from a full field, a half a field, to a quarter field now, it seems like. But these guys are still, everybody out there is still racing, just like they did at the beginning. We thought they were racing a halfway, now they're racing to rain. Hopefully this thing's going to go the whole way, because this has been pretty exciting. You never know what's going to happen.
Remember, Austin Dillon drove through the mess last time. There he is in the top 5.
Did a great job.
Martin Truex Jr. in that 78 machine getting aggressive. Right behind him, Clint Bowyer in the bottom lane.
Eric Almirola's done a great job of keeping that outside line moving. It looked like the inside line was going to move early on, and we've seen the inside line move on better tires almost the whole time. But the outside line looks pretty strong.
Michael McDowell inside the top 10, right in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr. here late in the race. Remember, he had that problem when he came down pit road, got sideways in his box, but he too hanging tough.
Looks like there's some smoke coming off of Ambrose's car. Left rear, maybe.
"40 years ago this weekend, the King, Richard Petty, won for the final time in his career, his 200th career victory right here at Daytona in that 43 car. And today, Eric Almirola behind the wheel, driving for the King in his home state. He's a native of Tampa, Florida. Sporting the Air Force colors on this 4th of July weekend. And Eric was actually born at an Air Force base here
in the Sunshine State. What a special day it would be for him to get the checkers for the first time in his Cup career. Casey Mears not going away, riding in the 3rd spot. And that Geico Chevy, and Brian Vickers, who got his last win 1 year ago, next weekend at New Hampshire, trying to steal some thunder here today at Daytona. Right now, Joey Logano in the 14th position. You see him in the back portion of this draft, but he's being black flagged. Apparently some debris coming off of his car.
Michael McDowell doing a nice job today.
Slow. Caution for debris or for rain.
You heard it there. Caution, 7th time today. This one for rain. Let's go back and look at Danica Patrick's day. She's 8th right now, and she has dodged bullets today, not once but twice. But she did, and here's what they were saying on the radio under caution a moment ago about how they need to handle the rest of the race.
With that few cars on the lead lap, is there anything different you want me to do?
Oh, just run like hell.
All right, copy.
Yeah, pretty straightforward from Tony Gibson,
pretty
huh?
much there. That's pretty much there. But you know what? Looking at this, there's 20 cars on the racetrack.
50 laps to go. The entertainment value on high here at Daytona. The battle for Earth just beginning in the new season of TNT's Falling Skies. New tomorrow, 10/9 Central, only on TNT. Under caution for the 7th time today. Got some rain here in Daytona Beach, Florida. And you look off toward the ocean, and they're getting it pretty good over on the beach. Luckily, we're a couple of miles inland as we go back and look at Joey Logano. He had been black flagged, and he had debris flapping everywhere on that Ford.
Something should eventually come off when it sparks like that.
Yeah. You just grind it down to nothing, or at least a piece flies off, and that seems to be where the debris came from.
What a difference a week makes.
Yeah, there's the debris.
Joey and Brad so good a week ago at Kentucky, and both have been involved in crashes here today at Daytona. Eric Almirola leads the way with 50 laps remaining. Brian Vickers, Kurt Busch, Casey Mears, Austin Dillon, the top 5. You're watching the Coke Zero 400. It's 2 o'clock in the East, Sunday afternoon, 4th of July weekend of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing here at Daytona International Speedway. It's the Coke Zero 400 for Coca-Cola. Cars have come down pit road because the rain has set in once again here at DIS. And immediately as they came down pit road, the crewmen hopping over the wall to come out and look at the cars. Now we check back in with Miss Sprint Cup and tag along with her on race day. Get even more exclusive access by following her on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Hey, it's Miss Sprint Cup's Juliana and Madison again. And you saw us doing our thing at the Sprint Experience and catching up with all of your favorite NASCAR Sprint Cup Series drivers. Now buckle up and come along with us for race day. That was beautiful, guys. What was your first car?
My first car, it was a race car.
Thanks. Good, how are you? I would never be able to be a driver. That's way too hard looking for me.
Give it a shot.
Well, the whole weekend leaves us right here. I'm just waiting to find out who's going to join me in victory lane. It was a blast having you join us this weekend. To go behind the scenes with us every weekend, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Miss Sprint Cup. And don't forget to log on to our Twitter right now and retweet this tweet to be entered into a sweepstakes for an autographed helmet signed by all your favorite NASCAR Sprint Cup Series drivers.
Under our third red flag of the day here at Daytona International Speedway. Drivers starting to climb from their cars, at least a handful of them are. Kyle, you've got the binoculars out. You've been watching the weather. What are you seeing over there?
I wasn't really watching the weather. I was just trying to see if I could see the beach from here, which I can't. It got to the airport and stopped, and all of a sudden, when it came across, the backstretch into turn 3 and 4 is just soaked right now. That's a hard rain. You can't see the hotels on the beach from where we're at right now.
How cool is that shot, though?
Yeah, see, that's where and that's a perfect shot. But that's how we've talked about it. See how it's on that end, but it's not on this end, just like Jamie McMurray said earlier. That's crazy.
That is a live shot.
That's it coming
right
at
now,
us.
looking
not time lapse
down the back straightaway.
Not
that's
time lapse.
Absolutely unbelievable.
That's it coming at us, and that's we've
look,
talked about
just a distinct line right midway down the back straightaway.
Wait a little longer; it's coming our way. But it is just blown in from the coast. The one that came in this morning came from the west. This has come straight from the east.
But it's really just kind of that corner of the racetrack, because I'm looking down toward turn 4, and it's kind of dark in 4.
Yeah.
But if you come down the front straightaway, there's nothing over here either.
No. From the angle, this is the angle from shooting back from turn 3 over there. Now you can see off through turns 1 and 2 down there. That's to the west of the racetrack. You see how dark the sky is that way. But this is, it just kind of came over the airport and is kind of settled here over turn 3.
So the air time to take care of business.
Really?
Front stretch, I think they could probably make some gains. But I don't think they should start on the back stretch.
This is what I was talking about, though. I mean, it's completely dry over here on the front straightaway.
Yeah, I think you need to give it about 5 minutes, because by the looks of it, it's getting closer.
Yeah, it's good. The garage area, the nationwide garage area, you see down here, it's coming on over the racetrack right now.
And now you can see it on our camera lenses here on the front straightaway. You know, it was neat last night when we went through all the rain, and it really never stopped. But they were using the Air Titan, and it used to be the rule was we don't dry the track until the rain has stopped. And last night, even though the rain had not stopped, they had the Air Titan out there, and it's amazing how the Air Titan will stay in front of it. I mean, it's not going to obviously get the track completely dry until we have no more precipitation, but these machines do an unbelievable job of executing the plan. And I'm sure Danica Patrick would like to see us go green again, because she's sitting 8th right now, and so far things been pretty good for her today, Ralph.
Yeah, the best line, I think, came from her crew chief, Tony Gibson, who told me just a minute ago, Danica, that he said he needed a break. This was getting too wild. You have had quite a day out there. They've thrown everything at you, but you keep battling through it. What's it been like in the car?
Okay. I mean, the car is fast. You know, it's just been a matter of attrition and getting a little lucky and making it through things. We've been in 2 crashes, and the car's been okay to keep going, which is hard to do here at Daytona, because the splitter height is so critical, because if it's a little too low, you can't go the speed you need to, because it'll just hit the track. So we've been really fortunate from that perspective, getting a yellow in the middle when I made the mistake on pit road of missing my pit box. So, you know, here we are, though, with, what do we got, like less than 50 to go, and, you know, there's only now 13 or 14 cars on the lead lap, so there's a lot less to lose than normal. So on a normal Speedway weekend, you'd say 8th is pretty good. Let's just go home with a car that's not too badly banged up, but there's a lot less to lose than normal, so, you know, it'd be fun to go back at it.
Okay, so going forward, if we get an opportunity to restart this, what's going to be your best strength to help you get to victory lane today?
Cars behind me. I mean, not from a sense of like being the first car and have everyone behind. That is great, but you need cars behind you to make anything work. As we saw in the last couple of restarts, I went to the outside, and when no one goes behind you, you just fade out. So I'm sure that, you know, you guys and the fans have seen that all day. If you don't have people behind you and you're all alone, you can't do anything. So, you know, you just got to have people behind you willing to try and make something happen, and that's how you make things happen.
You got Danica in the Coke bottle, by the way? You all ready?
Is my name on this one? Just Coke Zero.
All right, we got to get on your PR guy.
They made me some special, what's up with that, Joe? Couldn't have got one with my name on it? They made me special ones with my name on it.
There you go. All right, she's ready to go, Chris. All she needs is a green flag, and maybe today could be the day.
Yeah, Ralph, you're having some fun over there. Well, Micah McDowell also having some fun in this race. You know, and after qualifying, we saw a lot of names at the front we don't typically see. Now we're late in this race. We still see some names up there we typically don't see. Micah, you're having a great run today.
Yeah, we're having a great run. The JPO absorbance forward has been fast. Had a little problem on pit road, spun getting in my box, which actually worked out well because we just missed the accident, the next green flag. So proud of my guys. Wally Rogers calling a great race. We got the track position now. Hopefully the weather blow through. I mean, we'd love a top 10, but I want a shot at the win too. So hopefully we'll get back out there.
Yeah, we've had a lot of big wrecks out there, but you have stayed away from all of them today.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate. Dave Ramsey at the top's done a great job. I've seen them all, and I've been right in the middle and just happened to squeeze through. So very fortunate. It's a good, solid run for our Levine family racing team. We just need a top 10 here, maybe get a shot at the win.
Yeah, he had that miscue on pit lane, but obviously it was fortunate for him. Marty?
Well, Chris, the guy who's going to do a rain dance, Eric Almirola, hoping it pours. Although it's not raining here on the front stretch right now. Do you have a good rain dance?
I was hoping you'd teach me.
You used to do a little, you just move a little bit.
I've never been in this position, but really proud of Trent Owens and all the guys on this U.S. Air Force team. They brought me another really fast Ford Fusion. Our car was really good down here at the Daytona 500. We drove up and led some laps, and we had an issue on pit road, and we ended up getting caught in a big wreck and really didn't get to showcase how fast our car was. And we brought another really good car back here. It's been really fast, and Trent's made some great calls to keep us up front with strategy, and we've been able to hang up there. It's been really good. So I'm not going to lie. I wish the good Lord would just dump a good rain shower on us right now.
Yeah, that would be cool to win it on the anniversary of the Kings' 200th win, wouldn't it? Have you thought about that much?
No, I haven't. I mean, I've seen the stuff on TV about it this weekend, but haven't really thought much about it. I'm more worried about getting my first win. I'm not worried about the 30 years ago. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I am glad that NASCAR threw the caution there because we saw nationwide qualifying where the showers just pop up all of a sudden and the track gets drenched in a hurry. It's a little bit dangerous. So we saw it just got a big old shower on the backstretch right there a couple laps after the caution. So
a lot of guys hoping that we get back to green. Eric Almirola, not one of them. He would love for it to rain right now, Ralph.
Marty right here. Casey Mears in 4th place. That looks really good because I know you've got a good race car, don't you?
We do. Geico Chevrolet is fast, and it's nice to be inside the top 5 right now. I sure hope that the rain goes away because I'd like to have an opportunity to get in the chase. I mean, the car's fast. I mean, anything can happen, but with an opportunity to win and possibly get in the chase, we're sitting in a good spot. So hopefully it'll blow through. I don't know what's going to happen, but either way, it's going to be, if it does come, we'll have a good day. You said to me, I look hot, don't I? And yes, you do, and I've known you for a long time. How hot is it in the car? It's not bad when you're moving. It's pretty warm, but when you get stopped on the backstretch for a crash, you just sit there and bake. The transmission, engine, floorboards, everything are so hot, and you just sit there and bake inside the thing. And if you're out of water, you're sure hoping some water comes by soon. But not bad when you move. So once we get moving, it's good, and then you're focused on racing, so it doesn't matter a whole lot. He's an old desert rat, Chris. Don't let him fool you. He's used to this hot stuff.
Well, Austin Dillon also having a good day right now. 5th. Austin, you ran 9th at the Daytona 500, so you're really backing up. A good finish there. But we talk about guys staying out of trouble. You got in a little bit of trouble earlier today, too.
Yeah, I don't know. We just got lucky and got through a bunch of it, and kind of the guys have been smart. We don't have too much damage or anything. I think a little hole in the grill, but that was from the really big wreck, and somehow we skated right through the middle. But proud of this Bass Pro Shop Chevy team, and got to thank all of our partners with Dow, and we've had a solid run today. I'd like to get it back going, though. I think we have a shot here. Obviously, there's a lot of attrition that's taking place, but it'd be fun to see if we can work with our other ECR teammate in Casey Mears and see if we can have a shot at it.
Yeah, solid run for Austin Dillon. And remember, Kyle Larson, he in this rookie battle right now. Kyle Larson back in 36th. Matt?
Back in the spring, Kurt Busch scored a grandfather clock with the 41 team at Martinsville. He'd love to score his first Daytona win, second here 3 times. You're currently sitting 3rd. A long conversation with your crew chief, Daniel Knaus, working on strategy for the final run.
Yeah, just in case the rain subsides and we're able to get back out, we want to be on our game plan. But just got to thank all the crew guys at the shop. This Haas Automation America Machine Tool car is fast. They put a lot of work into it, showed good in Gene Haas's wind tunnel. Just got to thank Gene. I know he's watching. We're having a great run. Leading laps, leading miles. We're running up front with the 41 Chevy. Just trying to sort out the restarts, be a little better there. I'm making small mistakes. That's why we're not leading. We're 3rd. We're right in the mix, though. We're right where we want to be. you know, if it goes back green. If it stays under yellow, it's a shame we didn't win. We allowed a team that's back there in the points to get a win. I felt like it was somewhat of my duty to try to keep a win with the guys that have won so far this year. But great effort from our 41 Haas Automation Chevy team.
Restarting on the inside road too, knowing the strong points of your race car, what are some of the moves you're looking at possibly making to get that car back to the point?
I got a good, feel for where I need to be, starting third, starting fourth. I haven't done my best restarting in the lead or on the second place position. So I feel really good where I'm sitting right now to be able to jump back up there and get the lead if we go back green.
One of the conversations you had on the radio with your spotter, Rick Corelli, was about your brother and the slow tumble he described it down in 3 and 4.
Yeah, I'm always concerned when Kyle is on his lid or when the 18's in a wreck. I always hope to hear that he's okay. It's tough racing in these configurations. The restrictor plate races are tough, and my mom, she says she never likes Daytona or Talladega because of that reason. So we're okay, Mom.
All right, he's sitting third, hoping to go back to green to have a chance to go get his first Daytona win. Marty.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt, and Danica Patrick sitting here chatting about the race. We've already talked to you, so that's okay. Hey, you've had an eventful day, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to get out there and see if we can get a good finish. Anybody can still win this race. So my car's pretty tore up. The left front splitter looks a little high, and I think the balance on the car is real tight. So when I get into the pack and get behind guys real close, I got to use up a lot of racetrack on the exit of corners. So we got to figure out what we can do to get better there. But hopefully the rain goes away and we get going.
Even with the damage, you think you have a car enough to be able to win this thing, or what?
It's going to be. I mean, anybody can still win it. Anything can happen. There can still be another big wreck, but I just don't know. I don't know how it's going to stack up. Our car's at a pretty rough spot as far as speed and handling, but if it thins out even more, it's going to handle better.
You did a good job avoiding that one, though, didn't you?
It's easy to just come to a stop as long as nobody runs into you. We were going to be fine on that first wreck, but we got run over. But yeah, I can't believe all the carnage we've had today. It's kind of uncharacteristic, but it's just how it works sometimes.
Why has it been? Has it been just the way these cars are handling, and why has there been so much carnage today, as you said?
Daytime race, it's a little bit slicker, and cars are moving around a little bit more, and guys are being a bit more aggressive. We're not, you don't see us all lined up on the top, running around there trying not to go to the back. It's just guys are running side by side. The way the cars are drafting, and the package is really keeping the pack pretty tight, and guys are running side by side from the lead on back, and you're gonna run tight like that, gonna have mistakes, or cars just get moved around by the air. Heck, a guy could be just holding the wheel and the car will move 3 foot, depending on what's happening around him without him moving the steering wheel. So sometimes you just get yourself in a bad spot.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. got some work to do if he's gonna sweep the Daytona races this year, Matt. Ralph.
Well, all right, Marty, thanks.
Sorry.
We're down here with Ryan Newman, who's relaxing with a Coke on the pit wall. Ryan, you passed me in the garage area. That's never a good thing. It's been a rough day for you. Tell me a little bit about the day. Take us through it for you.
Really spent a lot of time just kind of managing, avoiding, and staying in the back and keeping a good idea where the leaders were going to be, and staying out an extra lap to pit by ourselves so that we could have a clean fenders, a clean race car with our Wix Filter Chevrolet, and just got caught up there. And that, I guess it was 2 or 3 crashes ago now, but just unfortunate. That fans have been sitting around here for an extra day now, and we're fighting Mother Nature. But I hate seeing these race cars get torn up like this, especially flying through the air. Everybody knows how I feel about that.
What would you say was the reason for this? Was it just a craziness early on in the day? Never seems to have gone away.
Yeah, it's the product of being here an extra day, kind of racing in the rain. A lot of guys racing for a win, pulling out crazy stuff, and just the product of the way the cars race together. I mean, it is what it is. It's really not much fun.
Adam. Thanks,
Ralph Ryan, a member of the Coke family, and Coke Zero wants you to make this the summer of sharing. Spread happiness, share a Coke Zero.
Ever want to say thanks to someone who's not expecting it? Let's go. This is for Denny, who's got my back even when we're swapping paint. Then there's Joey. Lets me catch a draft from time to time. Appreciate that. And then there's my guy, Austin.
Thanks, Dee.
Welcome to the Coca-Cola Racing family number 3. Hey, the sharing thing is kind of fun. This summer, share a Coke Zero.
I look at the top 10 in today's race with 48 laps to go. 8 of them yet to visit victory lane in 2014. And in that group, Marcus Ambrose, Matt, who right now is 10th, and I'm not sure how.
Adam, the Petty cars bookending the top 10. So how is that 9 car in the 10th spot? It looks like you've already run 1,000 laps at Martinsville. A bad day there.
Oh, look, I've been backwards, sideways, through the grass here. I got the front all torn off our DeWalt Ford. We're still inside the top 10. I got my teammate Eric in the Air Force car, about to win the race if this thing gets rained out. We're praying for rain right now. If I knew how to do a rain dance, I would. I just really hope that the red flag comes out here and Richard Petty Motorsport can get this win. You know, Eric's been a great driver for them, and he deserves to win this race. He's been great up front there. On the DeWalt side, we're digging hard. If we do go back green, we're going to try to make a couple of changes here and make it turn a little bit better. The front end's been pushed down, and it's actually on the racetrack, so it doesn't turn very good, but we're hanging tough and hanging in top 10.
Beside dodging the accidents and being involved in, what's been the biggest challenge today with this rules package in the daytime here?
It is mega hot in my race car. I don't know what it is. It's the hottest race car I've ever had. I mean, I've been really overheating behind the wheel. It's not physically that demanding out here, but just the heat has been incredible. So for me, it's been about keeping my body hydrated and actually staying cool enough to think straight. But we're torn up. We've been in both the crashes. We're still going, and we're going to try and drag a top 10 out of it.
Perseverance paying off here for Marcos Ambrose and the 9 team. Chris?
Yeah, I'm Brian Vickers right now, sitting up on top of his war wagon, talking with his crew chief, trying to figure out if we get back to green. You're in second place, so you're in a pretty good spot for a restart.
Yeah, we are. Been really proud of these guys. Billy's made some great calls, and we've had a little luck on our side as well. And that FSU those national champions have been with us tonight, and just so great to have them on board. And thank Aaron's for making that possible.
Yeah, and you talk about some luck on your side. You were right in the midst of that last wreck, and I think we've got a replay here that we can show. You can kind of talk us through what was going on there.
Wave to the crowd, Billy. It's the brains behind the operation up here. I just ran around in circles. Well, we'll wait for the replay to come up, but when we went back green, I told the guys, I was like, man, there's a lot of guys that seem really hot and dehydrated. See a lot of hands out the left side window. That's when guys start making mental mistakes, and I was nervous going back green, and I saw that flash come across, and I just started getting on the brakes as hard as I could and trying to find a hole. And as soon as I saw a hole right here, I just downshifted and floored it and hoped for the best, and we got really lucky. I saw some cars go by us in both directions over the top of our hood. It was a mess, but unfortunately we were able to get through it, and now we're in a great position to win.
Yeah, boy, the seas really kind of parted there, and you just shot right through that hole. So the car's in good shape. So if we do get to make a race, a run out of this thing, you guys should be in a good spot.
I think so. I think we've got a good car, and we're in a great spot right now. I know these fans. I want to thank all the fans at home and the fans in the stands for sticking through this with us all day today. I mean, we've got some great fans, and they deserve to see the end of this race, and I'd love to see the end of it as well, and hopefully victory lane.
Yeah, Brian Vickers gets a victory here today. He'd likely be in the chase. Adam?
Brian mentions the NASCAR fans, Chris. They have been patient. All the delays here yesterday evening, rain, postponing the race until today, and now under our third red flag, our second for weather here this afternoon. Make sure to share a Coke Zero this summer and use the hashtag #ShareACoke to post your bottles. Visit NASCAR.com to make a virtual bottle with your name on it. 48 laps remaining under the red flag at Daytona. Eric Almirola leading in the Coke Zero 400.
Your captain told you.
Here's a look back at some of the great NASCAR moments from the Turner archives. We've had some fantastic finishes on TNT over the years. From Bristol 2002, the patented Jeff Gordon bump and run cleared the way for NASCAR's third winningest driver. How about 2007 from Daytona International Speedway? Jamie McMurray and Kyle Busch dueling to the finish. McMurray edged out Kyle in one of the closest finishes ever. 5 1/1000ths of a second the margin of victory. NASCAR needed replays to determine who won on that Saturday night. 2 years later in Daytona, Kyle Busch at it again. Front of the field when he gets turned by Tony Stewart. A spectacular crash would happen behind the man that got the checkered flag. It was Tony Stewart winning at the world's center of racing. And hopefully we will add to that long list of fantastic finishes here today And if we do so, it will likely involve Eric Almirola, who is out front under our third red flag of our coverage here on day 2 of the Coke 0400 at Daytona International Speedway. Good to have you with us on TNT with Wally Dallenbach and Kyle Petty. I'm Adam Alexander. So many great storylines that surround that 43 car. You go back to 30 years ago. We talked about it earlier. The King getting his 200th win here, his 10th at Daytona, the final victory of his career. It would be neat for him to take that 43 to victory lane today, the first for Eric Almirola.
Yeah, I think it would. Obviously, you know, they won with John Andretti. They won with Bobby Hamilton since he's quit driving, and it would be great to see Eric get his first win. I know they'd just like to outrun everybody, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But it's so tough at this level, you take them the way you can. But 30 years later, to be able to come back here and be in victory lane would be a special day for Eric and for the Kings.
Eric's been up there all day. I mean, he's run good. It's
yes,
not like this was handed to him. He deserves to be where he's at. He's out of a lot of trouble today.
You see, Richard Petty is still the all-time wins leader when it comes to racing at NASCAR's top level here at the Daytona International Speedway. A long time since the 43 car has been to victory lane. John Andretti, 1999, April of 99, over 500 starts ago in Martinsville. That's a while.
That was a while. And Martinsville was a special place to the King. He won a ton of races there. So when you look at those numbers at Daytona, you know, he always loved this place. He loved it from the first time they came through it when my grandfather won the first race here. Then the King came back and won so many races here. But Petty Enterprises always ran really good here. And it's been a special place. And with so much, with my mother's passing this year, with so much going on, this would mean a lot to him.
When we were at Sonoma a couple of weeks ago, and we always know Daytona and Sonoma are the two wild card races that we have here on TNT, I said Sonoma is kind of the land of opportunity because you know someone could go out and get a victory that maybe is not a favorite week in and week out. Same situation here. You look at our top 10 today, 8 of the top 10 yet to win in 2014. I won't say someone could steal a chase spot here today, but they could put themselves in the playoffs when maybe back in January when this format was announced, we didn't think they'd be there.
Yeah, and we've talked about it quite a bit coming into this race that could happen because of what's happened today.
Sure.
We've had some wrecks take out a lot of good race cars. We've seen some drivers that run up front that normally don't run up front that have done a really nice job. And then like you mentioned, you look at the guys right now, there's a lot of them behind Eric that would really like to see this thing go green, even if it was for 2 more laps, just so they may have a shot at it.
Well, and the other thing is when you look outside the chase grid, and I think we're going to put up our chase grid at this stage, when you go outside the chase grid, those guys trying to fight their way in on points, some of those have had problems today, so a lot of jockeying for position.
Well, yeah, and if you look at guys like some of the guys that are up front right now, like Mears and guys like that, you don't even see them on this points chart. If they're going to get in the chase, they need to get a win.
Yeah, and we heard Kurt Busch make the comments earlier. It was my job being that far back in points and having a win to keep somebody back there from winning a race.
Which is an interesting thought process.
It's a very interesting thought process from race winners. They're in that mode of defense now. We're blocking. Mm-hmm. We need to win all the races so these guys that haven't won races are back in points, don't win races and sneak in front of us.
Less guys to deal with.
Yeah, less guys to deal with.
Play.
That's it. You get somebody down, you keep them down. Right. That's the way racing's supposed to be. And that's you get a guy a lap down, you want to keep that guy a lap down. But I'm going to say something about the 43, Eric Almirola and Trent Owens. Trent Owens coming over this year was a huge boost to that team. Smithfield recognized that, stepped up a little bit more. That whole team has kind of risen. And if you look, and you talk about them running up front today, they've run up front a lot of places. They've had a good top 5, top 10 car. When maybe the Roush Fords haven't performed the way we thought they should have, they're a Roush satellite kind of operation with the chassis and the Yates Roush Roush Yates engines. They've run really, really good. So tip of the hat to Trent and to Eric on this.
Well, and we talk about the anniversary of the King's 200th victory here at Daytona and how cool a win for Eric would be from that perspective driving the 43 car. But as I said earlier, Eric is a native of Tampa, Florida, driving the Air Force car on this big weekend for all of us here in the United States of America. And he was born on an Air Force base right here in Florida. So many things about that would make this win special for him.
Yeah, for him, yeah, definitely. For he and Janice and the kids, for their whole family. But, yeah, you know, and not a lot of people know, but Trent Owens and his brother Travis, but Trent is my mother's brother.
Right, he's in the
his kid.
family.
He's my cousin. So it's a family deal. So we can tie this thing a million different ways if you want to.
Here's an important question. Since it is a rain out, is your dad here? Or is he home?
I think the King, I think I was supposed to ride with the King, and I got a text from my sister that said, we're out of here, so I think he's gone. Now, whether he turns around or not, I don't know, but I've lost a ride.
Wouldn't be the first time rental car?
Wouldn't be the first time he put me out of a ride.
Yeah, and I thought it was great that Eric said, I'm not worried about all that history. I want to win for me.
Right. And that's what he should
great.
worry about.
A little bit selfish, but you got to be that way if you're going to win at this level. NASCAR on TNT. We're at a red flag at Daytona. More after a break. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. NASCAR on TNT, taking you through the 18th race of the year, supposed to start last night. We actually began track activity shortly after 11 a.m. Eastern this morning, waiting out our second delay because of rain, and they continue to dry the back straightaway. Front straightaway appears to be in pretty good shape right now, and last we got a report there was no shower anywhere around the track, so that's the good news. Hopefully we can get things back where they need to be pretty soon. Now, the mentality changed in 2014. No longer about points, all about wins as you try to make your way in the NASCAR's version of the playoffs.
I like it. I think it adds a lot of excitement to the season.
If you get a win, then there's no more pressure to be anywhere in points.
Oh, you could say that there's pressure to win a race, but, I mean, there's pressure to win every race if you look at it that way.
Points still do matter. I personally don't think there will be 16 different winners.
25th, not a big deal. We just need to concentrate on going out and trying to win races.
It's a way to keep the fans engaged, and it's kind of a knockout scenario.
But when you get to Homestead and 4 drivers have a shot at the championship and you're all tied for points, that's something new and something our sport hasn't seen.
Well, as we all know, drivers love the trophy, and I still believe as we close here on the chase, you know, points are going to become a big part of the equation. We were talking about the chase grid in the last segment, but when you look at those drivers that are yet to get to victory lane in 2014, those are going to be the ones that decide those last spots to run for a championship come September. And, you know, one of the guys you put on that list, Brian Vickers, running second here today. And next weekend, we go to Loudon, New Hampshire, where he got a win a year ago, and that was, you know, that was a bit of an upset when he pulled it off, running only part-time in that 55 machine last season. And we look forward to bringing you the final event of our coverage here on TNT. Countdown to Green, served by Sonic. Happens noon Eastern time, and then it's Sprint Cup racing from New Hampshire. And I said this last week when we were at Kentucky, but you look at the collection of tracks that are on the schedule between now and the chase. Next week, the flat mile at New Hampshire. You go to Indy, the big 2.5-mile oval, and then at Pocono, 2.5 miles, but not a lot like Indianapolis. There are some similarities. The road course at Watkins Glen, the big high-speed 2-mile oval at Michigan, short track racing at Bristol, Atlanta, a 1.5 miles that has its own unique characteristics, and then, of course, Richmond is where we figure out who's going to be running for the title.
It's a great stretch of races coming up. I'd like to see a lot of those in the chase.
Well, and these are a lot of races, Kyle. While you probably wouldn't put them in the wild card category, they are places where you can take chances. I look at New Hampshire, where we've seen strategy over the years. Certainly Indianapolis, Pocono, the road course at Watkins Glen. And that opens the door for maybe an underdog or one of these teams that's yet to win this season to find a way to get where they need to be so they can run for that title.
Yeah, anytime we go to a New Hampshire, and we've seen that, or the Poconos, places like that, where strategy and fuel mileage and so many things come into play, you can see a mix-up in the race. Now, at the same time, you've got to run top 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 to be in that contention. I think this is a place, and we talk about it, and the road courses are a place where you can find yourself in maybe a 15th and back car and put yourself in a position to win a race.
So, Larry, we kind of have lost sight a little bit of strategy today because we've been talking so much about the weather and the implications of the crashes. So give us a gauge on where we are with 48 laps to go and what we need to do once we go back green if that happens.
Well, I just think big picture, Adam. I go back to something I said after that first big wreck, that I felt like that opened the door for some guys to maybe get a win this year that had not visited victory lane. But what I love about the position our sport is in right now, and I've been here for 33 years, is the fact of even Brian Vickers, who's running second, a second-place finish. He doesn't care about a second-place finish. All anybody is thinking about right now is hoping that these skies will clear up and that we can go back racing. The only drivers I heard that does not want to go back racing, and rightly so, is Eric Almirola. And I know Ambrose is saying what he wants to say or should say as a teammate. He wants to go back racing because he wants a shot at winning this race. Just the mentality of our sport right now. You think about Casey Mears. What a top 5 finish would mean for that single car team, but he wants to go back racing. He wants a shot at a win. Austin Dillon has never even had a top 5 finish, but he wants to go back racing. That's what I love about this sport right now. It's not about a solid day. It's not about a solid points finish. It's about getting the win. But where we're at with this race, and I think that's one reason before the red flag, Dale Earnhardt Jr., I know they keep working on his car, that they came to pit road. We are now in that window where if we get to go back racing, if you do come to pit road right now, you can make it to the end.
Thank you, Larry. And you talk about Austin Dillon, the rookie who right now rides 5th, and we all remember what happened here in February, the return of the legendary number 3. First time it had been on track in Sprint Cup competition since we lost Dale Earnhardt here more than 13 years ago. Goes out, sits on the pole, finishes in the top 10. And Larry said it, Austin has not been in the top 10 since he pulled it off during the Great American Race here 6 months ago. In the top 5 right now, and he and Kyle Larson both have a great shot at making the chase, and if they do so, would be the first rookies to make NASCAR's version of the playoffs since Denny Hamlin did it back in 2006. That's a pretty remarkable stat, Wally.
Yeah, they both of those guys have done a great job. They go out there every week. They're learning the tracks, learning what this stuff is all about. They've driven, both of them driven great, in my opinion. So, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, what's Austin 13th in points?
No, Austin's dropped down. Well, now he's jumped up to 13th because he's 5th as they run. And Kyle Larson, who's been a mainstay in the top 15, in fact, was as high as 10th a few weeks ago. You think about that team's run of bad luck. Running top 10 at Sonoma. Power steering goes out. He ends up finishing deep in the field. Last week appeared to have a top 10 car, has a tire go down, hits the wall, and then here today involved in the early accident. So Kyle Larson, a driver that's really lost a lot of ground in the points because of bad luck the last few weeks.
Yes, but at the same time, so has Austin Dillon. He had his issues at Michigan, a couple places, lost a lot of ground, and in this one race can pick it up. So that's where it's so precarious in these points for those final positions for the chase.
And when you talk about final position, it's close.
Yes.
I mean, you look at the gap between, you can start anywhere. If you have a bad race anywhere, it's going to, jumble the points up like crazy.
Hey, guys, just remember this. This is race number 18, and right now, the Rookie of the Year points battle is based on your best 17 finishes. So now, as they have good runs, it starts to throw out their worst finish. So this is where these points can really start to change up for these rookies right now, as we are now beyond 17 races.
Yeah, and when you look at the rookie points themselves, we've been talking, obviously, the chase and getting in the chase on points. The rookie points, just as Larry said, they only take a certain number of races. The thing is, Kyle Larson has more top 5s and more top 10s right now than Austin Dillon has. Austin started the year really strong with the pole that we just saw, winning the pole here, and that was a great day and a huge day for NASCAR and I think for Richard Childress personally, and obviously for Austin. But when you start throwing out races and start counting what they've done, what your best stuff is, right now Kyle's having a little bit better year. But when I look at Austin's year, Austin has had just a solid year, just building
Very
getting
consistent.
better and better and better. Maybe not as strong, maybe not as flashy as what Kyle's been, but he has had a solid year and continues to build that solid foundation.
But here's the other thing. Just forget their rookies for a moment and think about the challenges that all teams have faced, because there have been major changes made to the race cars for 2014. And, Wally, anytime you come into a year and you have a new crew chief, it takes some time to get that relationship going.
Not sure so it wasn't better for them that they came in with a new car, because they didn't know any better. So really, that's the best time to come into the series when you're a rookie, because nobody has any experience with what you're driving.
And you say forget that they're rookies for a moment. Watch them drive. It's easy to forget they're rookies.
Absolutely,
it is easy to forget both of those guys. But it's easy to forget Cole Whitt and guys like that are rookies. They've done great jobs and probably lesser equipment. So I think the whole rookie class, it's a pretty strong rookie class that's going to be here. We talk about Austin and Kyle so much, but that whole rookie class, as we go top to bottom, they're going to be a factor in this sport for a long time.
Yeah, Larson and Dillon have taken the headlines, but so many others have had a huge impact on the sport. Justin Allgaier, Michael Annett certainly have had some great runs. Well, we look at our top five here. Eric Almirola, Brian Vickers, Kurt Busch, Casey Mears, Austin Dillon. And most wins at Daytona by car number, and at 21 right at the top.
Yeah, and we look at these numbers, and I want to clarify something here. I think Dale Earnhardt Sr. has the most wins at this Speedway. Because
34 all time.
Yeah, because he won the 125s that were then the 150s that were the duels. That was
on track.
Everything you do on track.
IROC.
So that moves that number 3 to the top of the heap. But these are the 500s, the points races.
Yep.
These are the 500s. These are the Firecracker 400s in his days. And that 21 car, the Wood brothers, they ran limited schedule. They primed for these races, and they showed up, and that was a car you had to beat. And it was phenomenal to watch the 21 and the 43 race all those years, and the 22 car when it was a Dyegard car, and then the Richard Childress car.
How about that? Only one driver ever took the 43 to victory lane here. Richard Petty, all 10 of his victories at the World Center of Racing coming in the legendary 43. Today, Eric Almirola trying to change that. That would be a nice little caveat to the win. Maybe not today, but as he gets down the road, that would be something to hang your hat on in your racing career. I go back to the 21 car and all the success they've had at Daytona, dating back for what seems forever. And, of course, Trevor Bayne, the last to win with them here in the 2011 Daytona 500. I was amazed in doing research this week for this race. That was the first time the Wood brothers had experienced victory in the 21 car when Trevor won here since 2001 when Elliott Sadler won at Bristol. It's been almost 10 years.
Yeah, been almost 10 years. But you know what's amazing about that? They won in, 7 different decades. The 21 car won in 7 different decades. You look at that. The history that this team holds, the impact that Glenn Wood and Leonard Wood and then Lynn and Eddie and that entire family has had on the sport. Sometimes I think it gets overlooked because they're not one of those teams now that you speak of like Petty Enterprises. You don't speak of Petty Enterprises or Richard Petty Motorsports the way you speak of Gibbs or Roush or Hendrick and teams like that. But without those teams, you don't have a Hendrick. You don't have a Gibbs.
That 21 seed, that's a seed a lot of drivers would like to be in next year, because that team is still a very good race team, even though they don't run the full schedule. And 5 drivers won the 500 with Woods brothers. I mean, you come to Daytona, you got a good ride if you're in that car.
I mean, you mentioned next year for the Wood brothers and what they're going to do. Trevor Bayne, in case you'd forgotten, maybe not heard, I think it was Memorial Day weekend, announced that he will go full-time in the Sprint Cup Series next year, driving for Jack Roush, who he runs full-time for now in nationwide competition, driving the 6 car. And so, a lot of speculation who will get that ride. Is it going to be a young up-and-comer, a veteran? We'll see what plays out, and I'm sure Ford will have a lot to say with that as they try to bring that program along. Waiting out the rain at Daytona. It's been a common theme all weekend long. Eric Almirola leading the race here today. And with that, NASCAR has declared this the 18th race of the year official. Congratulations, Eric Almirola. For the first time in his Sprint Cup career, he is a winner, taking it in the Coke Zero 400 here at Daytona International Speedway.
That's cool.
That
I'm
is
very
cool,
happy for him, and like we talked about earlier, he did a really, really good job this year. They've been solid all season. And, wow, what a great tribute to Richard as well.
You know, he went out for a bike ride here on Friday and had a flat tire, had to come back in. Bad luck away from the track, but luck on his side here today. Took over the race lead. The rains came. We sat under red, and now it's official. For the first time in his career, in his 125th start, Eric Almirola has got a checkered flag at NASCAR's top level, and boy, I would have lost a lot of money betting on this top 10.
I'll tell you what, though, you know, it was a good race today. Unfortunately, there was a lot of cars tore up, but Brian Vickers, great run. Like you said, Adam, he's going to a racetrack next week that he gets around really well. Good run for Mears, Dillon. Michael McDowell, 7th place finish.
Another part-time team.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, it's good to see these guys have some good runs once in a while like this.
Well, Danica Patrick fought through all the adversity, finished inside the top 10. Same for Clint Boyer. Alex Bowman, another one of those rookies, started 43rd, finished 13th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. lapped down good portion of the day after that early crash. He was 14th today. Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano in the top 20. And virtually everybody you've seen on the screen had damage of some kind, and all these drivers most certainly did.
Yeah, that whole page, I think, was in the wreck.
Kyle Busch upside down at one point. There you see Carl Edwards, 37th. Jimmy Johnson out early in a quest for his 4th win at Daytona. And A.J. Allmendinger took us all access throughout the week, finished 43rd. The rain never felt so good. Eric Almirola gets it done today at Daytona. Congratulations to him and that entire team. So it's 3 o'clock in the East. NASCAR on TNT live at Daytona Beach, Florida. In fitting as we sign off with our coverage of the Coke Zero 400 powered by Coca-Cola, it is raining because Mother Nature has played a role in track activity each day we've been here. Cut practice in half on Thursday, shortened qualifying on Friday, washed out all activity yesterday. That's why we competed this afternoon here at the World Center of Racing. And the rain came at the perfect time for Eric Almirola, who was out front. Finally, we get a huge thunderstorm, and NASCAR says we are done today. Almirola gets the win. First time the 43 has been in victory lane since April of 1999 when John Andretti did it at Martinsville. And we predicted in our pre-race coverage last night the chase grid would look different after today's race, and it does.
Yes. And look at Eric jumps into that. So when you
our
start
11th
looking,
winner.
There's your 11th winner. So that only leaves 5 for points, and it's going to get tighter and tighter.
First time we've had a first-time winner this season since Jimmy Johnson pulled it off in the Coke 600 Memorial Day weekend. And you know, I'd say here Matt Kenseth, Ryan Newman feeling pretty comfortable. Paul Menard has some breathing room, but for Clint Boyer on back, even though he and Austin Dillon are in right now, anybody's guess on how that's going to sort out.
And like I said earlier, the points get awfully tight back there. So you're right. I mean, these guys got to be sweating a little bit.
It didn't take him long to get to victory lane.
No.
Never does when you do it for the first time. Let's join in the celebration to Matt Yoakum.
Adam, Eric Almirola was 112 days old when the King scored his last win right here at Daytona. So much respect and responsibility when you took over that ride. What part of this? I mean, most kids dream of meeting Richard Petty. You've won for him.
Man, it's so awesome. The amount of effort that's gone into this race team this year with everybody at Richard Petty Motorsports trying to get better and trying to build this race team back to a winning race team the way it deserves to be is it's been so cool to watch it grow and to bring Trent Owens over and to watch our sponsor, Smithfield Foods, keep investing in our race team and giving us more and more money to go out and the resources that we need to be competitive and to get this U.S. Air Force Ford Fusion in victory lane today. 30 years to the weekend that Richard Petty won his 200th win is really, really special. The good Lord was looking out for us today. We had a really fast car nonetheless, but I'll take them any way we can get them, man. We're going to be in the chase. So this race team deserves to be in the chase. I told everybody at the beginning of the year, I told our sponsors, everybody that was committing to our race team, I said, I promise you I will get you to victory lane. And lo and behold, we've done it.
You started out scraping the mud off your grandfather's dirt car. You started racing go-karts at age 8. This is your home racetrack. Could you have scripted it any better? Your first Sprint Cup win, and in the famous 43.
No, I can't. I went last week down to Tampa, my hometown, to do a lot of media and stuff, promoting the Daytona race here in July. And I've said time and time again how bad I want to win here. This is my home race, 2 hours away from Tampa, Florida. And I grew up sitting in those grandstands right up there watching Daytona 500s and Firecracker 400s, and dreamed about what it'd be like to race here. And man, I just took the 43 car to victory lane at Daytona.
And you touched on the significance. You're in the chase. You now have a chance for the championship.
Yeah, and this race team is deservingly so. I mean, we've had good cars. We've had cars where we've run up in the top 10 and just haven't got the finishes, and we've been right there where we need to be competitive. We just haven't got to that next level. And this is so cool to get this team and all these guys right here behind me that have been working at this race team for a long time and haven't got to go to victory lane with this 43 car. Is so special. I wish my wife and kids were here. They contemplated coming, and they didn't decide to come, and I wish they were here so bad.
Today will be a special memory for Eric Almirola. In fact, the last time a Petty car went to victory lane, owned by the Petty family, here at Daytona, 1981. We're going to take some selfies, I think, here, Adam.
All right, Matt, and it's only the second time the 400 has been range shortened. The last time, 18 years ago today, in 1996, it was Sterling Marlin that went to victory lane. Today, all about Eric Almirola. He has won it at Daytona. The Coke Zero 400 on TNT is brought to you by Coca-Cola Zero. Real Coca-Cola taste and 0 calories.
TNT's The Last Ship is cable's #1 new series and will be the show to beat all season long.
Stay back! If I open this, the virus will kill everybody on this ship.
Every day we don't come home with a vaccine is a day another 500,000 people die.
No government, no politics. Welcome to Gitmo. Your captain's hiding something from you.
All hands, man your battle station.
It's the Russians.
I know everything about you and your mission.
You cannot win.
He'll chase us to the ends of the earth.
Sir!
Assume the worst until we learn more.
I've got 10 more down.
This is not my fault.
Cease and desist all rescue operation. This is my final transmission.
You killed 4 billion people. You weaponized the virus. You're patient 0.